Everybody smile, you're on the live. Oh, no. I just made myself mess up. Oh, man, that's so funny. Good morning.
Welcome. Thanks for coming today. I think this is probably the biggest team meeting we've ever had, which is absolutely fantastic. Raise your hand if you've never been to a team meeting before. That's fantastic. Okay, well, let me explain a little bit about team. First, my name is Robbie Grimes. I have been an attendee of team. I don't want to say member because it's really not membership, but I've been an attendee of team since probably about 2000. One of the first people who invited me was a lady named Jackie Kerrigan, who was a media specialist at Plainfield Schools. And there were a bunch of people who were stepping out into this new idea of technology integration and kind of being a bridge between the classroom and the technology department. And there are many of us in this room now who wear that hat. But a bunch of us got together because we didn't have really a support system of people who really kind of knew what the educational side was and also knew what the technical side was, so we kind of just got together. And we used to have these, signs that we held up that said, that's too technical. So that when the conversation got too much about wires and networks and stuff like that, we would just hold a sign up and say, okay, we're going to save that for later because half this room doesn't understand any idea what you're talking about. So I was one of those people, and really kind of still am, because I don't want to be a tech director. I want to know how to do all that stuff. But I do want to know how to help students and teachers learn the technology. So we all kept that idea with team together, and it has grown and gotten smaller throughout, 2000 until now, and now is this. So it's on an upswing now, not surprisingly so. So thank you all of you for coming. How many of you were a part of that team after 2000? I would say probably when you were a kid. Yeah. So just a couple of people. So it's fantastic how technology has grown, and the things we're able to do now. I can't imagine having Google Docs back then and being able to have a document where we all can have the agenda and take notes, or that we could have an online audience that's joining us on Hangouts on Air. Please also, if you have the agenda open, please don't also have the Hangout open, because video, as you know, that's one thing that I do know about technology. Video will kill your network. So don't have the Hangout open also, because FYI, you're in the room. You won't miss anything. So take notes in the agenda. There's a place that says please take notes. Go click on that and take to the bottom of the document. Go ahead and take notes down there. Put bookmarks in there. You don't have to do that. Just talk to somebody next to you. I'm sure that they do. Put bookmarks in there, and in the agenda, add things to the agenda, but put most of your notes down at the bottom and hyperlink down like that, so the agenda doesn't get totally bogged down with all of our notes. Put the notes down from the bottom. Otherwise, also click on the attendance link there and add your name and email address and information, questions that are there. There also is a link here, so you can see who the people are who are in the room. That way you can, if you're virtual or if you are here in the room, you can connect with those people so that like-minded people can connect outside of this meeting too. So this meeting actually will end up getting bigger than what it is just with us sitting in the room. We meet 3 times a year, usually sometime around now, and then again sometime around February, and then again kind of like the May-ish area. And those 2 times have already been decided. I think they're on here. One is going to be Camp Southeastern, and the other one is where? Yes, Irvington. We try to keep it in central Indiana, just so people don't have to drive quite as far. If we go north, and then people go down south, can't come all the way up. But there was one in the southern part of the state that Sean Mahoney actually started. I don't recall if they're still meeting anymore. Any of you been to the southern one? Yeah, I don't know that it picked up and got, but the central part of the state is just a popular place because everybody generally get there equally. Okay, so that's really it for introductions. Anybody any questions? Don't know what you don't know. First thing I'd like to do is introduce Jeff Downs. He is from Riverside Technologies Incorporated, and Jeff and I became friends from the HEC board. He was a HEC board member for numerous years, and then was a technology director, and then left and went to the dark side, into the corporate world, not dark side, the other side, let's put it that way, and has graciously offered to provide breakfast for us this morning. And so therefore, he is going to talk with us for about 5, maybe 10 minutes about what Riverside is, who they are, what they do, similar to what I did with EdTech Zone, my company last time we met. But he also has a giveaway, so that's fantastic also. So thanks for providing breakfast for us, Jeff. Appreciate it.
I'd like to first thank everyone for attending. This is a great meeting to come to. I've come to different times when I was a tech director. I think it's a great place to kind of discuss what's going on in schools and everything. And I am the too techie guy, so yeah, I'm definitely the opposite of Robbie. This is very interesting to me. I feel like it's really neat what you guys do is applying the technology in the classroom because I have a real passion for that. I love technology, but I think it's worthless unless you do something really neat with it. I mean, I literally probably the most untechy tech guy when it comes to home stuff. I have one computer in the house, and that's the family computer. So I try to limit that in my house because it's sick of it during the day. But a little bit about what RTI does. We're actually an integration company with IT services. We do a lot of really neat things, so we can kind of help from edge to the endpoint. So we do all those techie things behind the scenes you guys are not concerned about. But we also do really cool things too. We actually design and manufacture our own bag. And we're actually going to give away this stuff. But the cool thing that we're going to do is I'm going to why I took your information is I'm going to send you an email that says, hey, send me your logo. What I'm actually going to do is put your logo on this bag and send it to you. So it won't say RTI, it'll actually say have your school corporation logo on it. So, and it's a really tough bag. And Robbie's not included, sorry, but if he talks to me nicely, maybe. But if it has a spot in here to actually store your laptop, and I've actually had up to like 3 devices in here. I had a Chromebook, an iPad, and my laptop on this, plus all my tools. It's a really sturdy bag, and I carry it around everywhere. It goes through TSA really nice. And also, as a quick giveaway, I'm going to give a second one away, but this one is going to say RTI on it, but I am going to give this one away too. It's a little bit of small Chromebook, a tablet, that kind of thing. So it's kind of just a nice little bag. But we also do things like we make banners. So we do those kind of things. You say, well, why do you make banners? Well, we try to do value-added services that actually help schools out. And we also can even take your decals and or take your logos and put them as a decal. And you could hand these out to students or whatever. It's probably maybe incentive to customize our systems a little bit. And also we do full skins, which is kind of a nice, unique customization. We also do laser engraving, etching, that kind of thing. So we do a lot of services around customizing and trying to help the whole experience. So when I say we help from edge to endpoint, that's exactly right, because we try to help with everything that students may use with the devices, as far as the bags and so on and so forth, and all the IT guys in the back end, plug it in the wires. So, and that's it, because I know it's more important for you guys to talk about what's going on in the schools here. Yeah. I'd like to do a drawing. Robbie, you want to do this for me? Sure.
I didn't put mine in there.
No.
It's pronounced mine for nice. Autumn.
Hey, that was not fixed. That's where I was saying.
All right, congratulations.
So that was for the backpack. And like I said, I'll get it from Autumn. So this is for the little school bag for you to take home today.
Jenna Cooper.
And I do have business cards in the back. Feel free to take one. Hand it to your technology director. Feel free to contact me. And we'd love to talk with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate you providing breakfast, first of all, but also sharing that information about RTI. Thank you. Oh, you know what? That's not audio. Yeah. Just unplug that.
Oh, no. Lots of stuff is going on in the state of Indiana with the INE Learn team. Hopefully you all are a part of the INE Learn chats that happen. Mary Carnahan is here, who leads some of those, as well as, you don't lead those, Michelle Green does. But she's part of the INE Learn team, and she is going to come and talk to us a little bit about what's going on with the state and the things that they're working on. So welcome, Mary Carnahan.
Thank Thank you. I'm going to try to not have my back to the camera. Hi, I'm Mary Carnahan. I've met a lot of you. I haven't met some of you. So I am representing our team of 5 today with just some random things to share, things that we have going on in our office, things that are upcoming. So I'm going to read through my notes so that I don't miss anything or mess anything up. Some of this information is available, directly on our website. I'm going to share my notes here. I'll share them in the agenda just so that you have the links. There's a lot of links shared in here that I'm. So we've got digital content workshops that we are hosting throughout the state. We've already had one at Scott County District 2. Porter Township, I think, is in 2 weeks on the 7th, and that registration is closed. We've one additional one coming up, and that one is at Bluffton Harrison on November 4th, and that registration will be coming soon from our website, again, linked right up our homepage. And that's for individual teachers and schools that are new to curating content digitally. So it's kind of a beginner workshop. We will be continuing our digital content cohort this year. We will be vetting resources to support math, English language arts, and science and social studies, and we share those out for free. We were using My Big Campus to share those, obviously not anymore. So we are still working on a way to share those out for free, so that will be coming soon. But we will continue to vet and store those and share them out. Hoosier Student Digital Leaders is searching for a spring venue for the conference. So if you are interested in hosting that at your site or interested in applying to host that at your site, check out the website. Again, we'll all be shared in the notes. Thursday, October 29th from 9 to 2:30, we have partnered with Madison Consolidated Schools to offer 50 Hoosier Student Digital Leader high school students the opportunity to attend a digital citizenship conference with George Kuros, who is keynoting and facilitating that event. Students will spend the afternoon creating lesson plans for use with their peers. So we have more information on our site for that. We, as part of the HSDL program, we have a digital media festival, and we've now partnered with Next Vista Video Contests. And that is open right now. All Indiana students and their teachers are encouraged to submit entries. The contest details are linked from this document. The entry form includes a checkbox for Indiana students to indicate that they want their submission to count for the HSDL video contest. So we're excited to have that partnership. It makes it, takes a little bit of the I don't want to say responsible because we're still responsible for it, but it really opens it up to a bigger audience. They take care of posting those videos, of judging those videos, plus they're getting out to a national audience as opposed to just an Indian audience. So that's kind of exciting. Google Leadership Symposiums for district and board leadership. It looks like there's 3 of those coming up in Greater Clark County, Penn Harris Madison, and MSD Wayne. Links to those are on this document. Changes are coming to the INE Learn chat. Robbie mentioned the chat. Hopefully you have at least heard of the chat if you've not participated in one or more. It's a great opportunity to network with other Indiana educators on a variety of different topics. But we've had topics, monthly, so the first week, the second week, the third week of the month, and it looks like those are changing a bit. The first week is a coaching strand, which hopefully is interesting to all of you. The second Thursday of the month is virtual and blended learning. The third Thursday is digital leadership. The fourth Thursday is classroom and teacher strand. And the fifth Thursday is a takeover or people's choice. Again, information on all of this on our site. We have a new digital citizenship Google Plus community that is launching today. I believe that's launching tonight during the chat, so that's a little heads up on that. Information will be coming soon in a few hours about that new Google Plus community. And some professional development opportunities additionally to these. We have 3 book clubs that we sponsor each year. Right now we are about 3 weeks into reading Matt Miller's Ditch That Textbook. So if you are interested in reading that and participating in the book club, or if you think you have teachers who might be, have them jump in. It's not too late, or you jump in. Feel free to participate in that. We do offer PGP points for the book club, so if you have teachers who are looking for ways to earn PGP points, that's a great way. We also award 1 professional development grant during each book club, so that'd be an opportunity for one of your teachers to earn a trip to a conference. So, and we are continuing our e-learning webinars, and our next webinar is in a week and a half, so October 6th, an hour with 2 technical teachers, so Brittany Bannister and Tiffany Couple from Scott County 2 are going to be hosting. And then a couple of things that I just saw come through are that we have 2 grant opportunities, or two opportunities upcoming. So the Summer of E-Learning grant application will be released, I believe, next week. So watch for that on our site. And then also the application for the virtual option will be coming out in the next week. I believe it's supposed to be coming out by the end of September. So we're waiting on final approvals on that. So watch for those 2 things if you're interested in one or both of those. Questions for me that I may or may not be able to answer, or that I can get an answer for you soon. Okay, like I said, I'll link to this document from the agenda so that you have the links and information that I just shared. So thank you all.
Okay, so I guess this is a good problem to have, but Michelle just told me that several of you can't get into any document. Is that true?
Never.
You can only have up to 50 in a document, and I didn't think there were 50 in here, but there are several people who are on Hangout too who are probably able as well. So what I might do is take another Google Doc and kind of merge the notes later. So if we could have like this row in the middle, you guys, I'll create a Google Doc and I'll put it in the shared one, and you guys should be able to. You can click on the hyperlink already.
Yeah.
So and then you guys take notes there, and then everybody else take notes in the other place, and then I'll merge them together. Next week or something like that. So let me create a document and share it in there.
Good problem to have, I suppose. All right, so those of you who are in the middle group, hopefully that'll take enough people out of the document so the rest of you can refresh and do that. So I put right underneath the link for the notes, there should be a capitalized word overflow, and you guys in the middle can take notes right there. Okay, so how this works is that Mary didn't take enough time, neither did Jeff. So we're ahead of time, which is fantastic because usually we end up going over and don't have enough time for certain topics. But really how this works is when I asked you all to sign up to come and ask for those topics, I kind of took the most popular topics from that list and put it into an agenda. And so I basically just say,
all doing with one-to-one, and that's kind of how we go through the agenda. There's not anything that anybody's going to present. This meeting becomes as beneficial as you all participate in it. So the idea of one-to-one and how that's going, what you're doing, and things like that was kind of the thread that was brought up in that document. So everybody, don't talk at one time, but let's talk about one-to-one, what you're doing. Yes, Michelle.
I'll go first because I'm so excited to tell you that we are no longer with Canada tablets.
Yay! I was gonna say, we can live next year.
Yeah, and so we went to books, K-12, and iPads K3, and it's just going so much more smoothly here.
There is a document, or actually there is a map. Mary, could you put that, is it possible you could get that map that Jason created, that has, or is it still being updated?
It's linked on our website.
Okay, then, yeah, go there. On the DOE website, which is actually on the IND Learn part up here. You can, yeah, if you want to do that. There is a map, if you want to wear it, on the IND Learn website that people have contributed to that says what everybody's doing in the state. And not by everybody, I mean people who contribute. And if you haven't contributed, you're welcome to, but it kind of it has an icon of a Chromebook or an iPad, and so that kind of tells you what's going on around the state, of things like that. So it's kind of a neat map. Oh, it's on the second monitor. Here, go to the right. The screen is over to the right on the map. Dual monitor. So if you pull the mouse over to the far right, there it is.
Oh.
So you have to look up here when you do it.
Okay.
Or you know what you could do? You could open up a new tab. You open up a new tab and then click and drag the new tab over to the second window if you want to do that.
Ah.
So what else one-to-one? We have a mixture of Chromebooks and Apple, right? Chromebooks and iPads. Okay. Yeah.
Just comment, since there's so many new people and for old ones who can't remember anything, could people say their name and what school district they're from
Sure.
before commenting?
Yes. Make sure before you have your comment. So Michelle, Pedro.
So Michelle, how many of those are actually going home?
Our sixth grade is going home. So last year, they were 4, 5, and 6 were Chromebooks. And then this year, and then just grade 9. But this year, 10 through 12, and then 7 and 8 were added in. So at our 4, 5, 6 building, just the 6th grade ones are going home right now. At the middle school, ours are not going home yet, because we don't have a hard case on them like the 6th grade do. And the only reason 6th grade is going home is because of numbers. So rather than buy more carts, they said, let's just, send them home and see how it goes, and it's been going really well. But for ours, Max Cases doesn't make a case yet because the Chromebook is so new. So right now we're not sending those out. We're sending those home. I would like to see cases on the middle school kids before we send them home. But the plan is to get them home later this year, so we'll see where that lands.
How do you ensure that?
That's a good question. I know insurance is part of it. I don't know what they take that out of, unfortunately. Our insurance, they have a $25 deductible through a fee structure that, if they crack the screen, it's $25.
Is this self-insurance?
No, it's automatically included.
No, I mean, the school self-insured?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. No, we're with the company. No, it's a company, because we know it. Yeah, I can't tell you the company either. That's my tech director's stuff. But like $25 if the first time they have an incident, $100 the second time, and $150 the third time.
And do you know any of the hospitals themselves carry through, or is it
I believe it's textbook rental. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's textbook rental. But the only downside we've had that we've never had with Kuno was we were broken into, and a cart and a half were stolen from 2 different buildings. Yeah.
Chromebook?
Chromebooks. Yeah, no one ever wants to steal a cookie. I don't know.
And not get onto framework somewhere.
They didn't go out into the hallway. They went through the window. Yeah.
Wow. Yes.
I'll speak for my former school corporation, because I'm still working for them a little bit.
So name and school corporation.
Mine, Terry Garney, Monroe County, Bloomington. They moved all the high school iPads down, and so we're iPad 8th grade through kindergarten, maybe preschool. Not going home yet. High school got HP splits, whatever those are, but they're splits, and they got they got sleeve put them in, which is it's a pretty nice sleeve, and they added a high school cram course for repair at both high schools. I think we did something at the New Tech also. I forgot that we had some other high schools. And so later on, we had them to some other schools. But so right now, we're 1-to-1 going home at the high school. We also added Canvas this year, a lot of new stuff. Middle school, we are enrolling those folks with an Apple ID now finally. And of course, with the new Apple 9, we'll be giving the elementary kids an Apple ID. And I won't say that the elementaries are going to go home right away. I think maybe Christmas time, outfit and special time, we plan to have everything done so they can take this home. They do, at two schools who have a grant, they have to take them home with breaks. And so they take theirs home. There's some growing pains there. We bought a bunch of hotspots in the school is to check out a hotspot for those schools.
If you look up here on the map, on this map, you can see this IND Learn map. Mary, you want to explain a little bit? It's kind of what it does.
You can search by, if you can see down there at the bottom, I'm trying to point that to my 2020 vision. But you can, down at the bottom, it's broken down by the type of device. You can also scroll through there on the right if you are looking for, if you know a few districts in your area and you want to say, okay, what are they using? I want to, visit a school that's using whatever iPads. You could even go to those schools. There's also the search magnifying glass up at the top that allows you to do. So there you can do a search. Again, if you're looking for specifics, schools to visit, schools to talk to, or whatever, use that search feature to find those schools. This is all self-reported, so that's our little caveat. It's self-reported, it's as updated as you all and the other, the rest of the 290 districts have reported. So
It's interesting to see what this would look like if I know Jason, like within the last couple of months, wanted to do an update of this and ask more people to go on, but I'm guessing people who are jumping from Apple to something else, or from something else to Apple, or whatever, haven't gone in and updated things.
Yeah,
Or they're split too.
Sorry.
I was gonna say,
Or they're
yeah,
split.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, Tanya. I'm not sure how, I've never been on the other end of this to know what it looks like, and maybe some of you have done this, or maybe it's your tech director who has done it, but if you're able to say, K6, we have iPads.
I would say talk with Candace or Jason.
Yeah, I think you can because, again, I can't see far away. Because I think you can search by grade, so I would imagine that there is a way when you're reporting, that there is a way to say, in this grade block, we've got this slide, and then this grade block, we've got this. So.
Unfortunately, it's a drop down, so it's not a
Yeah.
But then, I know in Beach Road subscription, it lists 3 devices,
Okay.
which I made her new
I wanted to mention one other thing about our purchase, and I think other school corporations may be in this, I'm wondering, is if we did all this through bonds and a couple of grants, we have no idea how we're gonna get out of this hole, because there are these, I mean, iPads are at least 3 years old, and they've gotta last another 3 more years. We're gonna make those laptops last 4 years, and I don't know how we can go and ask for a referendum next year, and then 2 more years later ask for another bond and another bond. And yet nobody's talking BYOD, you know,
So
it's like.
Howard, let's talk a little bit about sustainability. Like we're, at Wayne Township, we're doing, we're actually just in the next week going to roll out a pilot of K1 Android tablets. And then we're going to be Chromebooks, 2nd grade, probably 5 in each classroom, and then 3rd grade through 9th grade will be 1-to-1 Chromebooks. And then 10, 11, 12 is going to be BYOD. So our high school, full high school will be BYOD, we have 9th grade 7. And so, the BYOD part would be where we're kind of surplusing those extra computers. So when they have them for 4 years, they'll need that 4th year. They'll be owned it at that point. So they'll get one as a 3rd grader, 3rd, 4th, 5th. They'll keep it then. They'll get a new one 6, 7, 8, 9, and then they'll have 2 devices if they stay in Wayne Township all the way through their school career. We're also going with a much cheaper device than an iPad. Well, not much.
Or split.
Yeah.
Must be not much, yeah.
Yeah. So we have the Lenovo 11E right now, that our students are getting. We had the 131, but we just rolled out 7,000 plus of them this school year, and we're getting ready to roll out probably a couple hundred tablets, and then that will increase the tablets at the K1 area and pre-K probably next semester. So that's kind of what Wayne Township's doing. We're using book fees as well as some common fund, common school loan fund funding for that. What else? What else? We also got out of the insurance business. Rob Peter PayPal, right? We got out of the insurance business. We decided not to even offer the one that everybody goes with. Work that through.
There are some things that changed this year that make it very difficult to insure devices.
Right. And then we also look legally at being able to self-insure, and not just be a nightmare, so we just decided, no, not good. You want insurance, you can go find your own insurance. You can use your homeowners or renters insurance. We don't need insurance at all. But I will tell you, with the Lenovo Chromebooks, we really haven't had much of a breakage problem. There's been intentional breakage, but as far as things that really could have been insurable, there really weren't a whole lot with that particular device.
Your BYOD,
we're in the first year of that, by the way. So the 10th graders, the 9th graders last year had it. 10th graders now have their device that they own. That actually we're going to take off of our filter and everything at 10th grade. We're kind of supporting them somewhat at 10th graders, but then we'll take them off the filter and take the stickers off them and remove them from management at the end of that 10th grade. So it is kind of BYOD, they can bring their own stuff.
so what is,
Well, take management fees is what I meant, not filters. They won't be filtered. Won't be filtered at home. They won't be filtered at home. And by the way, they're taking them. I'm sorry, they're taking them home. Students are taking them home 6th grade and up. Any 3rd, 4th, 5th have cards in their classrooms, and they all stay at school.
so what is the application that students have a device? How do you navigate that?
It all has to do with the teacher. There's not a specific kind we require or we recommend. It all has to do with the teacher. If the student doesn't come with one, which that happens, I think the environment is going to change over the next 2 years as the 10th graders who had Chromebooks were 9th graders and they increase, and now more kids do have a device they can use. I think there'll be more pressure for kids who come in as a 10th grader and don't have a device to get something. But teachers are using good ones, so kids can use Chrome or whatever they end up bringing. But there isn't an administrative push to ensure that every kid has one. It's just you can bring your own. Teachers, it's up to you. If you want to have a lesson, every kid needs to have a device. But we also have loaners in our building. If kids can go get loaners.
Well, there's one follow-up. So let's say I'm a teacher, I'm a assistant teacher, and I have a product, the kids are all going to have their own device. Do I just make sure the kids know about that, and then those who don't have the device down a loaner, the library or something like that.
Or we still have our carts, and so sometimes the teachers will get one cart instead of having to get 2 carts that have 30 devices for the whole class. They'll get one that has 15 and just pull it in the classroom, and if you don't have one, you just want to get one of these and use that during the class because everybody else has their own device. We found that kids typically want to use their own because it has all their own stuff on it, their own software, things like that, and proxy out, get that around filter, all that stuff, and not use our devices. But the kids who, there are plenty of things if they need to know that.
So does that affect your approach at all, like, for your courses that you are getting, like, some of them say, like, I have somebody sure that everyone has a half device, so I'm not looking at that.
There are skeptics like that, definitely, but we also say to them, look, you have all the same number of computer cards you had before, and now we don't use them as much. So they're available a whole lot more often. Teachers don't think about that. They just know, oh, I never was able to get them before because the English department always had them. But now the English department doesn't always have them because we have devices and these ends now, so they're not needing as much, so they're available. And they don't realize that until we can really put that in front of them and present it that way. And to say that they really are available. Go look and ask for them. So as far as changing the PD, it doesn't really, I don't think, because it's so saturated that it's new habit. Do you agree?
I think that would be true, that the
Just say
teachers
yes.
would, yes.
Name and school name. John, I forgot to tell you too.
Jim Kowalski, I'm in Southeast County. I am our new technology coordinator, whatever that means. We are one-to-one, K-12, K2 are iPads, 3-5 are HP laptops. And specifically we went with laptop over Chromebooks or anything else because after investigating things, we thought that content creation was really important. So we have Adobe software available to every kid. They can create with.
Where do you get all your money?
See, and that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering about other
Good question.
Well, see, I don't know anything about that. All Don Chase, you can call him a but looking forward, as we move into a new product, we're looking at a tablet computer hybrid. But I'm also wondering about can we scale back and do something like a Chromebook? But what I'm wondering from people who use Chromebooks is what kind of creation can you still manage? How does that
What
work?
can't you manage? Really what I would say. What can't you do with a Chromebook?
I guess that's
There really is. We have actually
because
you can use Adobe.
do you run it off of, like, aren't there programs that you can run via the web and you actually tap into their servers?
Yeah.
Run?
That's what we do. And now you don't run software on the Chromebook. You're running their servers, you're doing their stuff on their servers. You don't have that computing power.
What we do at Tiffany School Operations, we have virtualization, so we have VM set up, so students can go into a VM via web browser, and they can have a Windows device in front of them while still using Chromebook. So when they need Chrome and need what Chrome does, they use that, but when they need to run an Adobe Connect session, or they need to use Photoshop, or they need to use things like that, they connect to a virtual machine. So we only have like 200 concurrent licenses, but not every student needs that capability. So it saves us a lot of money, and we get it to buy cheaper devices.
What school district?
Tiffany School Corporation.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Chad Lamar.
Yep. Went to Zionsville schools and we too started doing with VMware for BYOD, which has really been helpful in that teachers are saying, no, I got kids coming with all these different devices. Some are using Google Chrome, some are using Word or something. So I want them to be able to do these productivity things. Some are wanting to know VMware allows us to have everyone have access to that same program, regardless of where they're at, and access to staging from their server. It worked out well. It's a learning curve. It's definitely doing that.
And it essentially takes you out of the care business. Device, BYOD, right? You don't have kids coming, you say.
Oh, they still come.
For They can rent, to reduce that.
You can answer to that if it's the beginning of the day and their device isn't working and you're not fixing. So then they're all day without.
We have loaners that can borrow.
And to be honest, a lot of the fixes, I'm part of that, I'm in high school in Central. A lot of the fixes that are even on UID devices, you can see, we take a look at students' computers, a lot of times it's just restarting their computer, because they have to shut down for the night. And so we do help them, and usually they'll request it, get that worked out.
What about early elementary one-to-one? I talked a little bit about our scenario where we're doing Android tablets, but we're not going to end up doing one-to-one. I know you can talk about Southwest Allen K-12 doing one-to-one. Well, let's talk a little bit about early elementary. What comes up and what scenario is different there, other than obviously age? But what unique things happen in this early elementary?
Stephanie Center, 18 School for the Deaf. We have one-to-one K-12, and then our preschool classrooms each have 2 devices to share between usually 8 to 10 students in the classroom. Our biggest thing in early elementary is that the teachers, right now we use Apple Configurator to preload all the apps onto the iPads that they need. So anytime they need a new app for the classroom or whatever, they have to see me, and then I have to collect their class iPads and then push all the apps on. And we're trying, well, our classes only have 8 to 10 students, so it's not as bad as it sounds, but it's still a time-consuming thing for me. And so I was trying to decide, we use the Apple ID for students for like our 6th and 7th graders who aren't 13 yet, so they can't make their own Apple IDs. Does anybody use Apple ID for students, for kids in elementary school? Because then I could use our MDM to wirelessly push and install apps. But we have to go through the process of getting parents to create Apple IDs for kindergartners.
The new upgrade, just change that now.
What MDM are you using now?
We have Jam, so Casper Suite.
Because most MDMs aren't supporting iOS on here, like FileWave.
Right, everybody's waiting for FileWave or
Okay,
Casper.
Yeah, oh, it's coming, but they don't, I even talked to support yesterday, they don't know when yet, so.
Mine doesn't reach this upgrade.
We just stepped into Google Play Preview, specifically when we waited on doing early elementary Android tablets for that reason. And now we've purchased Android. There's only a specific list that you can get, but we have these tablets that we're rolling out next week that are in Google Play Preview, and the management is like as simple as it is with Chrome. Honestly, the teacher is going to manage it. When they want apps on their devices, the teacher just pulls up their account, goes to Google Play Preview, opens up the app that they want, they install the app, and they click all the students that they want to have it on that particular device, and install and stuff. It's that simple to get apps. And then you can purchase through there. We told them all to use free ones, because if there's ever a paid version, I can find a free one that'll do whatever you need to do. But the paid ones, you can purchase with PO and do all that. But if the teacher does it, all of that stuff, it's fantastic. So it takes, again, that management off of our plates and off of our technology on our plates.
Susan Novoselic, we are one-to-one K-12. In our elementary school, we are using iPads, and the teachers are responsible for using the Apple Configurator in the classroom. And that's just been, I don't want to say an expectation, but like, they're so excited to get them, that like, here you are, and here's what you have to do to manage them. And they've been fine with it. At the kindergarten level, we're actually using mini iPads, and I assist kindergarten teachers. I'm using the Meraki management piece on those, and then they have them.
Our teachers don't have Mac laptops, so they can't use
Yeah, that's basically all our Mac laptops do, is sit there and they don't use them for much else. Because they all have individual iPads, they also have PCs. That, for us, that's the real difference in our elementary, is we're actually letting the teachers manage it. It's easy enough. They're even good at being able to make it, a single application so that everybody's iPad comes up to what they're working on. That's all you can do.
I forgot to mention, the Twitter hashtag is at the top of the document also. If you're tweeting anything, it's hashtag CTRL for Central. INTEAM, Central ENT. That on there, you can also do, e-learn. You could do that as well. There's so many people who are connected to that. You had a question in the back?
Well, I was just gonna say, I'm the other local schools, we have, one-to-one iPads, shy of maybe one or two, we're almost there, I mean, but in the classroom, they have from home for use. But we give each classroom teacher an Apple ID to use for their devices, and then sync to all those devices, and so they actually go out and get it's managed through Lightspeed MDM as far as what we need to do for profiles and restrictions, but for the Apple ID to actually get the apps.
So one Apple ID for all those apps?
For all the devices, because they, and they're all logged in. Right now, that's how we're doing that.
Yeah.
Yes. It lets you.
It lets you. It lets you.
Well, I mean, we have the licenses. We have the, we get the licenses for and enough of them for those devices. So we have those, in holding, they just physically go get them from the class. So we do that the correct way. We get those, purchase them correctly, but so that they can manage it, because right now we don't have back laptops, and we don't have any of that.
Yeah, that was fantastic when that first all came out.
Oh,
You could just buy one for $3 and, 700 people could use it.
Well, we use free ones too, but we get the correct amount of free ones.
Yeah. Cool. Michelle, you were going to say?
Yeah, so I have a question. Our biggest, as we're doing this pre-K-2 tablet pilot, the thing that our teachers are most worried about are getting small children to log into the devices and log into the internet. Have any of you addressed that at all? Like, how are you guys handling logins for 5-year-olds? Especially to the filter?
At the deaf school, we used to have logins. We used to not have logins. There was just password to get onto the networks. And then last year we switched and we have a login. And after about a week, my kindergarten teachers were like, "We're just not going to use iPads anymore because it takes us an entire lesson to get the kids logged in." And so I went to our tech director and we pushed out via the MDM. They have like their own specific section of the network or whatever, so that they don't require a login, but they don't get the password. It's just pushed out and installed on the device automatically, so that the password's not getting shared out to anybody, but their specific devices automatically log in and because that was like pull your hair out.
Yeah.
Like,
Is there a way to track like their activity in the filter?
We can track by device, and so if needed, we can pull up a specific.
So one device is shared by 8 students.
We don't know
You wouldn't be able to
one.
find out.
Right, so you wouldn't be able to find out. Or
What
one,
they do.
so every kid has an
You don't expect a 5, 6-year-old to do anything that's really got to happen.
No, but occasionally they come up with some really interesting Google searches or YouTube searches, or more often than not, we get the the 3rd grader who puts kids to Google search. And then on YouTube clicks on all of the suggested videos. Because it's like you can see they started off very innocent, and by the end they're like, "How did they get into German porn?"
This is an issue that we're really struggling with right now. Some teachers sort of say, "Well, you're going to have to learn it," and they work with them to get through it. Others, you would think that you're asking them to scale efforts. Because kids don't necessarily know their numbers and letters. The other thing that is probably a problem with, it's not just logging onto the device. We have a number of paid apps with licenses that we're doing, and we refresh those from the student information system. If we made the allowance that teachers can change the passwords for their kindergartners, you have to exclude those from refresh, and then you just a snowball. So one of the things that's most interesting in that for in our district is that teachers just doing some basic like cognitive stuff with their kids, like chunk it into 3 groups. Like if it's an 8-character password, you put 3, 3, and 2 or something. I think like teaching the actual password is something that we're gonna look at, but I don't feel like there's a really good answer unless it's the expectation for digital content use might be more of a 2nd semester thing for kindergartners because of another way they have to learn. But I think this explicit teaching of the password hasn't come. So
We're putting usernames on the tags. A lot of teachers are doing that, putting username in there, not putting his password in.
But we just started this year an identity management tool that every person on our network has to go out and claim their password and put in security questions. That's fourth grade and up. K through 3, they have one single password, which is majorly scary. That there's one password for that. 6th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders now have realized that their younger siblings all have one password that they're using with that password. Now, not being caught doing stuff that they shouldn't do. So that's I mean, but to get things going in K through 3, we initially just had this one password, so at least we could get on board and get started on our year. And then partially through the year, we will set it so that they have to also have their own unique passwords. But yeah, kindergartner, trying to remember an 8-digit password that probably has some character like a star or ampersand or something like that, or a capital letter, and forbid it should be if they do that. It does. You know, kindergartners, some of them don't even know what letters are, much less which ones to press. That does end up being an issue.
Yeah, I know at Lightspeed, our technology director made the passwords for K through 3 just first and last, the initials, first letter, first letter, last name, and then it's the student number, but that's all on the iPad. And then teachers have been really good about creating anchor charts and just making that a daily procedure where the expectation is we come in and this is what we do. We click this button, we type it in, and then it's set so that it's for 600 minutes, so you don't have to log in. But I've gone in to some of the rock star teachers who do this with their kids, and it was a struggle the first couple weeks. It was bad, but now it's really growing in ease of use, and a lot of teachers. Eventually, it just works for kids and they figure it out.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a common problem. It's interesting that all of us really are kind of having the same issue here. Not surprising, but very interesting that we're all kind of stepping into that. And hopefully, we can share that information and how you're getting through that. I'm intrigued by the one that the deaf schools do, as far as opening that one network that goes to get on those certain devices and letting that be open. Since those devices, our devices, wouldn't go home, I'm interested in bringing that, taking that back to our tech director and saying, hey, this is possible things that we could do. Since everybody has the same password anyway, why don't we go now that we have security?
Right, and it's a hidden network, so nobody can.
Yeah, nobody can see that. So it's interesting. That particular solution too. What about technology and special education? That ends up being a specialty of mine from a special ed beginning that I had, and now I'm in technology. But what do you all get pegged? I know the answer to this question. Do you all get pegged for, hey, we need an assistive technology that does this, make it work? Does that happen to you? Because our teachers come to us and say, hey, I got this grant, and I got this X175 computer from Gateway. Can you make it work? And yeah, no, we can't help you. Well, why? I got it for free. It's worth $700. Well, that's fantastic, but it doesn't work on our network. If you talk to anybody in the tech department about it. And so we have painstakingly got our special ed department and our technology department to work together so that when they need stuff, they talk to us first. So and I look at it for curricular reasons, whether it works on the network, and then our network techs say, tell me whether it's going to work on our network, and then I try things to try to break it, and then go back to the special ed department and let them know whether it's something that we can move forward with or not. What are you guys doing for that bridge between your special ed and your technology department? Yeah.
I work with our special ed directors and try to get what they need. Our biggest challenge in that is that they have software and stuff that they've been using forever, but as we are moving away from specific platforms, like moving away from PCs in the classroom to iPads and that kind of thing, they're like, so this software only runs on PC, and so we're trying to decide how we do that. Do we refresh their PCs, and then everyone else is like, well, why don't I have a PC in my classroom? And it's like, well, that kid needs it, and then the next year you take it and give it to that kid's teacher. The following year, specific student has this year's like, oh, I used to have a PC, now I don't, and my plans go with that. And so we're trying to figure out how, you can't really necessarily tell the special department you can't use that software anymore because kids have written IEPs and all that kind of stuff, and how we do that without having to have 8 different things that each of the classrooms.
The roadblock we come into is assumptions that teachers have about things. For instance, Chromebooks. Oh, every kid's going to have one of these Chromebooks. That's fantastic. And then they get to the, oh, but I want to do this. Well, it doesn't do that. Are you guys familiar with Read and Write for Google?
Yeah.
We purchased that for almost all of our students in our whole district. For gen ed and special ed and all of the great things that tool does. It's fantastic. But we had a lot of teachers who assumed that it was going to work with Qt. And the Qt even said that it did, and it doesn't. And so here we are wanting to use this Read and Write for Google in a Chrome browser, and Qt runs in a Chrome browser, but no one asked me, and my first assumption would be it's not going to work, because Qt has a lot to do with security, and they're not going to want you to use these special assistive devices and these assistive tools, so they're going to lock things down. They're not going to let that stuff work. So I would have predicted that it wasn't going to work, but now the curriculum people are coming to me saying, hey, it doesn't work. You need to talk to Read and Write for Google. Well, no, not going to work. You need to talk to Qt to get them to make a tool that's going to speak what you want it to speak if you want Read and Write for Google to do that. And so we have assumptions that are in place with things that look like a computer, but it's not really a computer, it's a Chromebook. And softwares that work in certain ways that are web-based, that you think they're going to work with this other tool when they actually don't work. So you have assumptions that are there that really aren't really true. Anybody else in special ed or any of the other items that are on there, early elementary? Yeah.
Ours is fairly similar, but a little different.
Name of school?
Stanley Dixon High School. We run the Excel centers, and we get like rewrite goal for our PCs, and we'll have teachers do some PD on it, and then we find those teachers either move out of SPED or maybe just put out the district altogether. And it seems every other term we have no one who does it. And then what becomes an executive says the expectation, you don't know what it is to have great expectation. So we're trying to find some way to bridge that with PD or something.
I'm not familiar with Read Write Goal. That's all the predecessor to Read and Write for Google Chrome. Read and Write for Google Chrome, I recommend you take a look at it. It's incredibly simple. We were replacing Solo on PCs across our district, and in doing so, Don Johnston had a tool called CoWriter that was web-based, and then Read and Write for Google had their tool. And we put them side by side. Read and Write for Google, which is more advanced than the Don Johnston one, so we went with that. But it's incredibly simple to use, and there's videos and things that are out there that are already created. Yeah, Kim.
Kim Hendrick from Indiana Online Academy, I'm an educational officer. If you're not familiar with the Captain Project, I posted a link in the lab for you, but they will help you with technology, anything like that. They have regional coordinators. All of their services are free. They will actually even ship things to you to test out if you have a student who's not sure if you want to purchase an app or purchase a product. They will actually ship that to you. If it's something they don't have, they're looking to purchase it. So they're a great resource. They've been around for 20 years. They are literally the experts in this technology. So, not heard of them, or you're not familiar with them, please look at them. They all of their services free.
Yeah, Patents is fantastic. They do a conference every year as well.
It's coming out in November.
Yeah. You're reading it? Patents, P-A-T-I-N-S.
And
It's also in the link on the notes. Notes area. Jeff Bond is one of the guys who is there, and he's incredible to work with. Guy is willing to come out and show you stuff, and it's a good organization. Anybody else? Yeah.
I have a quick question with special, it goes one-to-one and special ed together. We have some of our like self-contained classes, which they're one-to-one, they all have iPads as well and use for everything in their classroom. But a lot of our teachers are like, I'm not sending that home with that kid, it's never gonna come back, or it's gonna get broken or lost, or someone's gonna take advantage of that student and take it from them. Anyone else with one-to-one programs, do you send them home with your kids with more, severe cognitive delays and that kind of stuff, or do you keep those devices in the classroom? How do you decide? There's some parents are like, I signed the form to use an iPad, they get to bring it home, and we're like, So, anybody else?
Most of the time, I think we put that in the parents' with some counseling from the school,
but that's usually up to the life skill teacher or whoever the teacher is. If they're gen ed, typically we can assume that they're, but life skills kids, most of them don't have them, but some of them do. Some of them are just in the classroom, they don't take them home. But I think there are a few where the parent has worked with them, they want the same device in home that they can use in the familiar with school. So I think what we've done is work with special ed, the parent and the teacher, try to get an agreement on how that's going to come back and forth.
And if you have, we have a parent who wants to bring it home, they contact me, and I asked the teacher said it's not going to come back. We've sent other things home with that student, and they don't come back or whatever. Then do you kind of take teacher's discretion and tell the parent, no, they can't keep it home?
Yeah, because the teacher knows what's best for the kid, but also knows this is probably not going to come back, or it's going to get destroyed, or whatever that happens to be. But that is all on a case-by-case basis for us.
That's how we're doing it right now, is nobody was.
Yeah. No, it's kind of hard to provide what they need, yet still be aware that they can't take care of what you give. Yeah.
We only have two schools, one's rural poverty, one's urban poverty, but we're also still a small town, so we know all the pawn shops, things like that. But, with iPads, we keep track of a little more. But it hasn't been too bad. I mean, we had one that was smashed and one that was taken out of the 5 weeks we did last year. They went home. All students in that school went home. And we were surprised, actually. So who knows?
Anybody else thoughts about any of those things? Special ed, one-to-one, early one-to-one. All right, let's we've been here for about an hour. Maybe some of us a little longer. Let's go take a break now and block some of that time around. Take about 15 minutes break now. Everybody good with that? Yeah. You want to tell us what restrooms are?
Through these stores, right there.
There you have it. Is it more bagels or funny?
Whether there's a bathroom there or not, just keep going.
Several half gallons of orange juice and lots of coffee. So no refill.
Don't worry.
Okay, let's come back together and start back into our
Couple of things coming up in the next couple months. The ICE conference is coming up in October. Michelle Eaton is co-chair of the ICE conference, and registration is open. It's in Noblesville schools. Please go. That's a fantastic time for your teachers and educational technology type people to come and learn a lot from some great presenters. Also,
Our schedule is online. We have some great speakers coming in. The workshop schedule, the session schedule looks really awesome. I think it's gonna be our best conference yet ever. So yeah, go. It's cheap too.
Go. Yeah, it is cheap. $100 for
$100 for 2 days. Yep.
including lunch. Then John.
I was just gonna do a promotion for this season. Conference proposal closed at the end of March 30th. So if you're getting a proposal in this week, this is your week.
I don't have money to go. I'd love to go.
It's in Denver.
Yeah, it's in Denver this year, guys.
In lieu of ISTE, I'm going to WTC this year. I've never been. And I want to go see what that's all about. Plus, it's in January. And it's going to be cold here, hopefully, and warm there, hopefully. So I get to present digital citizenship at WTC, so I'm excited about that. But then in November, the 11th, 12th, and 13th is the HEC conference that I'm actually the co-chair for as well. And we're giving away a Lego Mindstorm kit, educational Lego Mindstorm kit for each attendee. So if you are a 2 or 3 day attendee, you get this box about this big and a bag that actually it fits in, ironically enough, that has like a command module and tracks and all the pieces to make your own robot. And Susan, I'm talking about the HEC conference. Susan is the registration chair actually for the HEC conference. And you'll get one of those as well. We're not doing a keynote this year. In lieu of that, we're going to use that time for workshop time. But also, Linda Ritz is going to be there speaking for a little bit of time to the technology team who's going to be in attendance. But same place, same time, same batch, all of that stuff as far as location is concerned. But workshops are filling up already. I think we have close to 300 in registered so far. And we maxed out at about 1,100, about 1,000, 1,100. But we already have 1,200. Okay, 1,200. Give or take whoever. But we already have workshops that are filling. So I'm in the process of moving some things around so we can open up workshops. There's a 3D printing workshop that is already filled. It's already filled with 15 people, but that room only holds 15, so I have to move it around a little bit. But that's the HEC conference, and it is $400 for 3 days. Includes lunch and the $400 Lego Mindstorm kit. So that comes with it. So get people to come, or you guys come. Fantastic. Okay, our next item on our agenda is makerspaces. I don't know why I don't know what I was doing when I put makerspaces. That's 45 minutes, which is why I kind of changed the break. But makerspaces, there were probably 6 or 7 people who talked about makerspaces. I know we did a makerspace at our Google Ed Camp that we did this summer, and several of the summer e-learning conferences did makerspaces as well. So let's talk amongst yourselves, the group, about makerspaces. What are you guys doing with makerspaces? And I know the mindset of makerspaces in our district and the one person who's kind of in charge of it, but I want to know kind of what you guys are thinking about makerspaces and how you're dealing with that. Or are you? Yes.
Chris Young, Southern County Schools. And so we're honestly kind of doing it on a school by school basis. So like you basically, there's another technology integration specialist that is primarily with the high school. He's working on one there, and I'm working on building one at the elementary school. So some tools that we're using, we want them to have a green screen, spherables. We have enough to at least supply those couple. We have makey-makeys, then of course, Play-Doh and Legos and, the simple stuff. But, it's our hope that, it grows and becomes something bigger that we can have
hear that, but we're sort of starting off and starting small.
Does anybody else have does your school have a person or a mindset that, all you have to do is get a Lego kit and have kids put it together in makerspace? Because you're making Legos with directions.
Yeah, we're not saying that from experience or anything.
Anybody else have it in that little? Okay. Makerspace, and they get the directions out, and they make a Lego, and all we have makerspace, which is totally not what the idea of makerspace is. Yeah.
I want to first say that ICE, Terry Darney, Center Grove, I'll say Center Grove. The ICE makerspace at Bloomington was fantastic. If you missed it, you were there, you know how good it was.
Good job.
Really good, guys did a nice job. We've got to talk to a lot of people and see examples, how they were doing it in small little groups that made you sit down. They made you sit down. But you had to do that. They convinced me in talking to people that the philosophy, I went back to the 16 or 17 years ago when interactive whiteboards came out. And what we did was we put them in the library or the lab and put them up on the wall and nobody used them. And being careful about, maybe, I thought more of the cart systems where they could go, green screen systems could go out into rooms and be used versus come to this room and do it. I think you need to come to this room and learn how to do it, have a space to do it. I also think you got to be more mobile and have a shot at it.
What I see happening is schools or teachers are buying stuff, putting it in there, and then say, okay, go make something. When really, just like with technology, lots of schools have done this, and I've been a part of a school that did this, where you say, oh, we need laptops. Let's go buy laptops and put them in classrooms. And that school did that. And now that you talk to those kids in that school, and they say, oh yeah, we use those laptops, but we don't use them in class. We use them at home. We take them home and use them. And whereas makerspace, okay, let's back up. First of all, what do you want kids to do? What do you want them to learn? What's the end goal? Which should be the primary focus of anything you do in education. What do you want your kids to be able to know or learn or do at the end? Now let's back up and look at how we get to that point. Makerspace is fantastic. You've got that idea in mind. You've got kids thinking outside the box. But I think a lot of people have that type of mindset for makerspace. And that somebody's now put a title on it called Makerspace, when really it was a group of NASA scientists getting together trying to figure out some Apollo 13 problem that's going on up there, and let's try to solve this problem. That was the original Makerspace. And I don't think that's really kind of what people have in mind now.
Tyler Klein from Delphi Community Schools. I just met my superintendent last week. He was nice enough to give me like a little chunk of change so I can start creating one. And so I've been doing like a lot of research on it, and I guess the big thing I'm looking at is like trying to figure out mobility, because I'm going to be going between like 3 different schools with it. Also, I'm going to have like a room designated for it, so like a classroom could come there, but also I want to have like some of the kids in like different like mindstorms and things like that, mobile. But like when you're talking about, what's the end goal, if you guys go to some of the websites like Makey, Little Bits, they actually have contests where they're given like I think on the Little Bits, there's like a contest, see you can create the coolest, how I think it's called like Pimp Your Backpack or something like that. And so if you're looking at a makerspace, if you look at some of these websites, look for some of the contests, and then I think that kind of gives you more direction instead of just saying, hey, here's some Legos, build me build me a garage or something. So I think you kind of have to have, like you said, you got to have some kind of end goal in mind, not just go play. And I think you got to make sure you educate your teachers on that also.
I see teachers who will, I think of like Ruth Goldberg machine, kind of like when I think of like a makerspace, where some people are thinking like that.
that here's this little thing that does this one thing, and you put it with this thing and it does this other thing, and there's already an intended use for those things. Whereas makerspace backing up should be, okay, I don't want to get this ball from here to here, and what's a new way to do it? You know, I want this ball to be able to tell me something. I want, thinking way outside the box. And so I think so many people have this idea of blinders on. This does this, this does this. And what I'm thinking of right now is this great ball contraption thing that I'm now working with, possibly bringing to the HEC conference. And what this thing does is it takes this little orange ball and moves it from here to here. And there's all these different things that happen with rhinestones and Legos and all this other stuff. And you could look at that as a makerspace, but this contraption right here gets the ball from here to here, and then this one takes it from here and goes to here. Okay, well, yeah, you're getting the ball from there to there, so what? Roll it as we get there also. How are you getting kids to think? How are you getting them to solve problems? And the problem isn't just move the ball from here to here in a new way. What is a problem that's going on in your world that you could use and make something to potentially solve that problem? Yeah.
Tom for Christian Academy. We're just getting started with makerspace, and I am new to the educational arena, but I'm not new to making and to the maker movement, which has been going on for a long time. And in seeing the maker fairs around the country, I see school systems doing incredible things with their students. I think one of the things that we've got to do is provide them the tools, give them the framework to use them, and get out of their way. That's what I'm hearing and reading in the things I'm doing. We've got 3 3D printers, and for me, the logistical problem is, how am I going to get these 3D printers to where they need to be used? And then more than that, 3D printing is one thing, but what I've really got to teach the learners is design. Because the printing part is, yeah, that's one thing, but they've really got to understand how to design the things that they want to make. Yeah. And if I am lucky enough to get some that they can solve a problem that they have with this 3D printer, they will determine the way they're going to design the object and do it. That's kind of what I would say.
The thing with 3D printing, the thing that made the biggest impression on me was actually an episode of Grey's Anatomy. Anybody ever seen it?
Yes.
Where they made heart valves?
Yeah.
3D heart valves out of this 3D printer that they ended up getting, and there was a competition between 2 of the doctors, because one doctor wanted to use it for this, and one doctor kind of took over and started using it for their thing. And I'm just thinking, okay, we use these artificial but real like pig valves and things like that. But if we could just fabricate our own, and someone could design that thing, it wouldn't be rejected by your body. They could design it, print it somehow with some type of material that would, but it would still work, and it would be better than what we have available, which is this pig valve. How much better would life be because of that? You've improved someone's life because of something that you've done, and that's kind of the thinking that I think really needs to happen here. Where we as adults, you're right, we get in the way because we have the way that it should be done right here, and we need to get out of the way. So these kids will come up and they don't know how it should be done, so they'll be able to go on these tangents that we're not in the way of, and can think of new ways to use them.
I taught a 3D printing and design camp this summer.
Cool.
And one of the things that we did was we printed cars that were run by a 9-volt battery and a little motor and fan. And I'm trying to give an example of how I've got to get out of the way. One of the teams decided that they were going to do a ducted fan and built this gigantic tube around the fan. And I said, it's never going to work. You're adding too much weight. Don't do it. And they couldn't be dissuaded. Those are the guys that won the contest.
Wow.
I mean, they knew what they wanted and they pursued it. And they had to make adjustments, but.
Dr. Thornburg is going to be, if you're familiar with him.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing the 3D printing workshop at Zionsville right now at the HEC conference. And so I'm trying to kind of move some things around so that I can
add more seats into that workshop so it can be bigger than 15. Susan's like, wait, what are you doing? So we can, yeah, she wants me to move places because it means more people can register for the conference. But he's coming with Roger Wagner, who is the guy who created Hyper Studio, and they are doing an Arduino workshop. That in the workshop they're going to connect with the satellite. They're going to make something here that will connect with the satellite there, and some really cool stuff that the two of them are kind of partnering on in 4 workshops that they're doing. He's doing a 3D workshop and also STEM education that's out of this world, and then I think Roger Wagner is doing something about the Hyperduino or something with Hyperstudio and Hyperduino kit. So those workshops should be really cool. The 3D printing one is built, so I got to try to find other places with those workshops so that more people can get in.
Can I pay for a seat?
Sorry?
Can I pay for a seat?
Yeah, you can register, and then you can talk to Susan, she'll get you registered. Oh, yeah, good.
We're also in the process of creating makerspaces in the district, partnering with Region 8 with some different grant opportunities. But I also stumbled across a grant from the National Science Foundation, which really focuses on trying to get underrepresented kids to be interested in STEM fields. So one of the things we're thinking about, and I think as Indiana, we're already kind of an epicenter for one-to-one. I think we found that when we switched from Ivy campus and all of these different LMS companies came and they were trying to wine and dine us. But maybe we become that makerspace centralized location as well, and we work together. One of the things I think is right to Robbie's point, we need to have purpose behind it, but we also need to get out of the way. So what if we start partnering with businesses and create like a cohort where we talk with businesses and say, give us a problem. Just give us something that a solution you're trying to solve, and we'll give it to our kids. Free charge, you basically get free consulting. So I think that's one of the ways where we can get that purpose behind it. We're not saying it has to get to here, here's the problem, how are you going to solve it? Yeah. But the partnerships, I think, is going to sure work.
And then potentially you have financial backing from a business that could help you
Exactly.
deal with situations in certain cases.
So maybe this is a good place for anybody interested, if we could get together and come up with, and start talking about makerspaces and share resources. I think that would be a pretty cool thing for anyone.
I think there'll be more makerspace type opportunities at some of the workshops, also our conferences as well. Yeah.
I just wanted to throw out there that we did partner with a corporation. 3D Parts Manufacturing is running an educational arm called First Makerspace. They were at the Ice Maker Summit. And that's how we have the $3,000 3D printers. They are owned by 3D Parts Manufacturing, and they're allowing us to use them as long as we do external opportunities.
Sure. Yeah.
Jenna Cooper from Center Grove.
Who's also on the picture?
Yes.
We're in the picture.
Yeah. So in Center Grove this year, we just hired a STEM coach, a STEM instructional coach, to kind of start planting that seed in our district. We're also constructing an innovation center right by our tech center that will be opening next school year. But the STEM coach has really helped us a lot, and he's been going out to schools and working with teachers, just starting to plant the seed about STEM and maker spaces, and working with teachers to kind of revamp some of the units or lesson plans they are already doing, and try to help them think about how to put the STEM spin on it to help students solve problems.
I get his name, Jenna.
Yeah, our STEM coach's name is Matt Harrison. So we're really excited about that. Right.
Well, it's a pretty great.
Harrison.
Oh, Harrison.
Yeah.
Harrison.
Harrison.
Great last name.
Yeah, we're just kind of in the process of designing maker cards to go out into classrooms and kind of seeing what a schedule might look like for students to take a field trip to the Innovation Center and get some of those experiences.
Cool. Yeah.
Kim Hendricks again, CISD. We are putting together a workshop right now on makerspace and STEM, and we're looking for presenters. So if you have any top-notch people whole event for that. We're hoping to launch it, I think, in January, February, to do a workshop. Bring partners in the products, much smaller scale than what ICE did. Then we'll get some of the part of the for the workshop. So, yeah.
Anybody else thoughts about makerspaces?
One other thing I just want to go back to what I call the Tim rule work is making sure we do stay out of their way, that we let them work on their passions, because I noticed that there is a movement. I saw textbooks at the ICE conference, which looked really good. Not textbooks, teacher books, giving you background. But they did have that step-by-step approach sometimes, and making sure.
Sometimes you want to just take a bucket full of junk, throw it on the table, say, here's what you have, solve this problem with this stuff.
Apollo 13.
Sorry?
Apollo 13.
Yes. Just like that. I mean, Apollo 13 was the first makerspace, and they made something that brought those astronauts home. All right. So moving on to our next topic, which is the process for digital content curation. This is a hot topic, especially since we're all going to one-to-one and getting, I don't say rid of textbook, ditching the textbook, because I think there's still a place for textbooks. But since we're going into this digital realm, what's your process for curating content, digital content? There's a workshop that's going on. Is that one you're leading, Michelle? You're good on that program. But the idea of pulling together resources, digital content, how are you doing that and what are you using? Yep.
I'm Tanya Fisher from Lawrence Township. We are doing this well currently, but we're looking into using something to build a kind of a repository. One of the things we've kind of kicked around is using Smartsheet as a place to gather information and resources, and then maybe build something in our LMS, which is Canvas, for teachers to be able to access that. So that not everybody's just dumping all these things in, it becomes just a potluck, but we are thinking about, the good things that we use, and someone is kind of managing that. We thought about using Smartsheet.
Anybody using NetTracker? Yeah, you have NetTracker? We have NetTracker too. NetTracker is a clearinghouse. It's a company that has curated a bunch of content, and then you can. The company's Novation. But NetTracker is the tool, and it ends up being kind of like a browser for searching for other content, academy content, and gizmos and gadgets, tools like that. All sorry. Yeah, and it pulls in purchasable products as well as not purchasable products. But we have it, and we got a connection with Miami Campus, and there also will be a connection with It's Learning when we moved it to It's Learning in our learning management system. Right within our LMS, we can use NetTracker for teachers to be able to find content and search web content when they're pulling those digital resources together to be able to pull into the resources that the students are using on a regular basis.
We have that within Canvas. I mean, there's lots of different apps that will pull in content.
Sure.
How similar is that to iCurio?
Michelle, you know about MyCurio?
Yeah, it uses the NetTracker content, but it gives you like assessment ability as well. Yeah. It's cool. And they're working on getting that so that you can integrate it into like some of the big LMSs. I don't think it's there yet, but it's very similar to NetTracker.
iCurio?
No. What was the last comment? What's coming down the line?
Oh, well, they are, so they are creating a common cartridge client, I guess, and it's when I talked to them last, they hadn't been able to integrate it into an LMS, but they were working on it. So that's pretty neat. There's also, speaking of content curation, there Open Ed, their website has lots of digital tools, and they've just released a piece where you can see how students do on a quiz after viewing that actually rate like videos and digital content based on student performance on a quick assessment afterwards, and share it on their site.
Say that one more time. Maybe what?
Open Ed, so they have lots of OER on their site, but they've just released all of their content will now have a percentage next to it, and it shows how it's like the average score of a student who took an assessment after using that resource. So you can see how effective it is at getting students to understand content. Yeah, it was a really neat feature.
Yes.
When the Cynthia's in Runcline High School, I learned about a couple of tools just for personal curating this summer. Live Finder, I'm sure many of you know it, I thought it was great, and Symbaloo, which I also thought was great. And then in terms of the school, our school, just being new Canvas users, I think that the Commons area is really going to be powerful. It reminds me of the library aspect of the Canvas. And of course, when you create a page in Canvas, you can add in practically anything. Much of it can be embedded. So as you update it, it's live. And just share those pages, put them up in Commons, and share them with just your group, your sub-account, or with the whole school, or make it public. But I think it's going to be really great.
Certainly don't also discount social bookmarking tools like Vigo. Like I have a Vigo account that has hundreds of resources on it that I've curated myself, and you also can follow people on those, follow their libraries. When I'm doing PD outside of Wayne Township or even inside of Wayne Township, I'll give those people my username and they can follow me, and then they have a list of all of my resources that I pulled together and how I've tagged everything, and they can do searches that way. So the social aspect of that is huge. But I think the problem thing that overwhelms teachers is there's so many different avenues you could go down. Which one do I choose? And just pick one. For right now, just find some content with that one. If nothing else, become good at Googling. And find resources that way. Yeah.
Does anyone use Actively Learn? I just want to come across that. I want to know what your thoughts were.
It's agnostic to discipline having content. I mean, they have some. What Actively Learn is basically you can mark up digital reading assignments, so you can embed assessments, and engage the content, so that when you put say an assessment question or a chat in, you have to respond before they can see what's next to read. So it sort of dials up the engagement on digital text. PDFs, you can put URLs in there and mark those up. So
Did you use it when you were in there?
we use some of that. We have enterprise, a site license. They're a pretty young company, but they're very responsive because of that. We like it.
Does it have a cost?
Well, I think it's like, they just changed the cost structure, but it's $5,000 a year.
Do you recommend it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say if the thing to get better for us is to know why we bought it. I can't answer that.
We're always looking at.
That wasn't my decision.
No, full disclosure, right?
Yeah. Higher pay grade than yours?
That's the thing, what's that?
Higher pay grade.
Yeah. So, I mean, no, but that's actually something we're struggling with in general. Like, you lure, like, there's all these things we can do, and we can't afford it, whatever the dollar cost is, and then we're like, oh, well, why doesn't it change? So, I definitely voted for this topic, so I guess I was kind of interested in there's certainly a lot of ways that teachers on their own initiative can curate and find all these things like that. But how about like this process?
Yeah, that's
How do you go through, like if you're not adopting textbooks, is it sort of, hey, we're not adopting textbooks, here's Google, go for it?
Right.
Or is there something that you're actually replacing, like sort of a central, like core content and allowing teachers to innovate around that? That's the sort of question that I have.
Don't forget that Molly Al is doing lots of workshops across the state. I forget the title of them. Digital
Yeah.
workshops across the state, right?
Yeah, that's the thing that's, I think, the last one that's coming up in Bluffton, Harrison.
Yeah. But she led a workshop. I think that Molly's position is really kind of cool, how it's kind of blossomed into this thing. But really, benefit to the school districts across the state. She started out as the kind of organizer of that grant, and now it's turned into this other thing that she does this other stuff with. But it's really, really cool the stuff that she's doing across the state, doing these workshops across in different districts to help teachers do exactly what we're talking about right now. In getting rid of the textbook, which used to be the content, and changing it from the textbook distributor and publisher from being the provider of content to the teacher being the provider or curator and then provider of content, which is what it really should have been in the first place, but it wasn't really easy because we didn't have access to the content. So there's a whole bunch of things. Yeah, go ahead.
We were.
Names.
Hi, sorry, Ashley Arnold, Greenfield Central Schools. We're going through this right now, kind of in a more formal process, but we were able to get one of the implementation grants from the DOE. So we partnered with 5-Star a little bit. But our PD path is basically we're taking our junior high and high school departments, and they're actually getting 4 half-day PD sessions throughout the year. And they've been building curriculum maps and PLC meetings, and including like their standards and everything like that. Because we've been 1-to-1 now this year. High school moving that way with the junior high, so we're looking for these content sources. We started by saying here are some of the top great free resources out there. And we're moving towards, okay, so which ones of these do you feel like best fit your needs? Let's pair them with your curriculum maps. Let's kind of scale them back from this huge list of anything you could possibly use to a smaller, more manageable set of what would actually be well used by all of your teachers to teach that content course and kind of move forward with that. So it's kind of starting overarchingly broad of here are really great resources for your content area. Let's focus them through what you're actually teaching and then kind of go through that way.
So you're saying someone's intentionally vetting resources and putting them together with the content?
Our teachers are doing that. So we're having some outside assistants finding these resources and saying, like, here are some good suggestions in terms of, like, probably best quality resources that you could use. And we're mostly going with free.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so it's kind of starting with the teachers curriculum mapping and doing that process first, and then finding the content that they can pair with it, and then figuring out what best content to pair with the standard.
Good. Usually it's the teacher's responsibility to find those resources. If those are already with the curriculum, in the curriculum map, let's say.
Right.
Then that takes that pressure off the teacher to at least here's some recommendations if you can't think of or find stuff. Yeah, Sean.
So our process has really come full circle this year as far as digital resource adoption. So we had, the big committees for textbook adoption, and as we're moving away from that, we still kept kind of that same process, but for digital resources. So we still are pulling teachers from across the district, working with the curriculum team.
And we don't even call it textbook adoption.
Yeah, it's digital, it's resource adoption. So that kind of opens it up to, we're going to look at books, we're also going to look at everything from CK-12 free resources to subscription resources. And so that process is still similar, but we've broadened it. But along with that, as we move to a new LMS that does a really good job with integration, we're getting rid of our curriculum mapping software. We're going to do that within our LMS. Yeah. So we're going to be getting rid of that, moving our curriculum maps into the LMS, so right where students are. And then we have the CIA team, so the curriculum team is on board with the technology department now for first time in forever, I think. And I'm sure you all can understand how difficult that can be sometimes. But as far as adopting resources that meet certain specifications so that they can be integrated into our LMS, our curriculum leaders are finally 100% on board. We don't adopt something if it can't be integrated single sign-on into our LMS. And so we're kind of working together on that. And so everything will now be, vetted the same kind of process. It's going to be integrated into our LMS, which is also going to be our curriculum mapping software, and then pushed out to teachers, and students will have one sign-in to get to all of the steps. So everything's kind of finally coming around, right, for us. And so that's kind of our content curation process.
So if the district adopts it, that means there's some kind of single sign-on is available. So,
yeah, moving forward. And then we have things that we've adopted in the past that aren't, and so there's going to be a time period of things not working. But moving forward, when it's time to re-up a contract, it's going to be, you need to provide us a 10-common cartridge, or we're not going to be paid for this anymore. And so we worked with, we took actually Houston ISD's letter that they used, because they do the same thing, and MSD Wayne. And so, part of the process is sending that letter out to prospective companies, so when you come visit to us, this is something you can do, and, we'll sign a contract when it's available. So, it's kind of nice to have the curriculum department understanding the technical commands, especially because the first year, we didn't have, last year was the first year of adopting a bunch of different resources, and the technology department wasn't really consulted at all. And so we had a ton of different logins, it was a huge mess getting accounts and all of that, and, but I think that actually worked out in our benefit. The curriculum department had 1 year that was just awful, of them realizing what happens when you don't do what we suggest, and so that kind of helped, again, getting us all on the same page too, so that's all.
It's been very beneficial to have our special ed curriculum and technology departments all in one building, under the same roof, so we can really get together physically if we need to really discuss stuff, and to really get us all on board on the same page as far as when decisions are made. When this one decision is made, yes, it's best curricularly, but does it work educationally? Does it work technologically within all of the areas that it really needs?
One of the things that we're doing, just trying to ask ourselves the question, what job are we hiring you to do? Like, is it instruction? Is it assessment understanding? Is it practice? Is becoming really clear on what the purposes are, because it is an ocean of woe out there. So anyway, that's just, we don't have any answers on that. That's just where we're at.
That's true.
I have a question for your, like, what you described. That's really interesting. My question is, so are you doing it like, so typically like textbook adoption, it'd be like, this is the math year. This is, so like, are you doing it yearly by subject, or is it as resources come available? Like, what's the plan?
Okay, so it kind of varies. The very specific, adoption year, the very involved process still stays the same. Where if this is a math adoption year, then we are looking intentionally at adopting math curriculum and that kind of thing. Now, those additionally, groups of teachers, a second group of teachers are the ones that work on the curriculum map, and that happens year round. And so free digital resources are discussed during those times as well. So certainly, if, for instance, K-12 wasn't mentioned for science, and then all of a sudden a teacher finally gets it, like see how it's graded, and they're wanting to include it in the curriculum map, and that happens. But as far as paying for resources, the bulk of that work happens in the very traditional, like, this is the math year.
Yes.
So we're doing is similar, so I guess Stanley gets in finance schools. We use Blackboard for LMS, created an organization which is headed by a curriculum. She caps the teachers who are best at this subject. They build out the curriculum map. Sorry, I'm a tech, so I don't know all that goes under that. They built that out in there, which is accessible to all teachers, so they can go in and learn more about somebody else's subject or help with their own, get feedback. And then we additionally have, if we can get that same great teacher to build a course in Blackboard, then we package that course up and put that package out there for teachers to be able to, especially teachers that are just jumping into a new position, gives them the curriculum that gives them the full online class immediately, so they can immediately jump in and start going rather than kind of fumble their way through and finding the curriculum on their own.
Yeah, it's interesting how all of this is coming full circle, because we have this curriculum mapping, like we had Rubicon Atlas, and then we had also a learning management system where like the lessons and the content were, but they were totally completely separate. Right? And when we were jumping into My Big Campus, all the teachers thought, oh, I'm building my lessons right here. My Big Campus is going to replace, or this LMS is going to replace the curriculum map. Well, no, it's really not going to. The curriculum map has a place, and it has to exist because you have to have that plan in place. Well, now we are pulling them all together in the same LMS now, the one that we've chosen. So you could do that, and you guys are doing that in Blackboard. It's, I can't believe that the dots hadn't been connected before now, that those two things need to be together. Because the curriculum should be what's delivered to the kids, not separate like this. And you've got these lessons over here that may or may not be really directly tied to this curriculum over here. So it's fantastic now that we have a place in these various learning management systems that you can have the curriculum, and you can have lessons and content directly related to and connected to that curriculum that are then directly delivered to the students. Through the teachers, obviously, through their knowledge and their abilities to instruct that way. But it just boggles my mind that we haven't made that connection before, but the connections haven't been positive. You know, curriculum used to exist in these big folders, binders that we could get on paper. And so then that was connected to our lesson plans because of the teacher was the line of the connection between the two. And now we're able to connect those through technology learning. It's really good at that. It's really neat to see that progress happening. Anybody else about content curation? Digital content curation?
I guess I'm just going to ask, what are people doing for online opportunities? How is that going? Because I think that goes hand in hand with content creation. So I'm starting to look into the possibilities of building the infrastructure for teachers to offer online opportunities for students, AP classes.
There are several in the room who lead schools like that.
I was just thinking,
Kim Hendrick
there's
is-
this great tech workshop on Thursday. If you want
Yeah.
a workshop on Thursday.
I've connected these two ladies who run monthly schools in the state. Like this one's Achieve Virtual, and this one's the Indiana Online Academy. That kind of had a connection in the background anyway. But Kim and Michelle are running workshops on how do you start your own online, how do you start your own online program, and how you do that. You can create your own, or you can use one that's existing. It really is. There's a difference between a virtual classroom and a blended classroom. You know, there's a big difference there in how you would face those, and the two of them will be discussing those because they have a lot of experience in both of those areas. So the head conference will have one of those, but definitely Ken and Michelle are resources that you can use for questions you might have in those areas.
Or we can still talk about it now, but.
Yeah.
Lawrence has their online school as well for like summer school, but we've also been looking at ideas of how to do classrooms that meet like once a week for seniors, and then the other rest of it's online. So that's kind of in the works, and how to figure that out logistically and with so responsibility. So we're starting.
One of the biggest hurdles that I see as kind of an outsider is the state requiring that you have to be in that seat for so long. And really the need for educators to say they know this content. And to explain that they know this content because they were in that seat is hard to explain to the state. The state's still stuck on you have to be in that seat for that amount of time. But just because you're in that seat for that amount of time doesn't mean you know the content. And so connecting those dots is huge.
Mary, we don't include you in that.
No, what?
I said, Mary, we don't include you in that.
Yeah, when I talk about DOE, we're not talking about
Just so you know, she's been reading.
Yeah.
Isn't that being lax though?
I'll stand in front of the camera and not show that.
E-learning being counted towards that seat time, is that starting to happen?
So I've talked to folks at the state level a lot about coming up with new ways to track accountability and that kind of thing. I mean, Indiana is pretty progressive in a lot of those ways, but you have to be able to, what am I looking for?
Cheat.
No, not cheat. You have to be able to have a good explanation. There's a much better vocabulary term for that. Justify, there we go. Like you have to be able to explain it. When we were starting, so when ours became a public school, full public school versus anywhere in Indiana, we had so many things that we had to consider. We have a school nurse for our virtual high school.
And
we have a media specialist, and we get immunization records, and there are a lot of things that, you have to fit that square peg into a round hole type thing, but at the same time, like, it's not like people in the state are anti-virtual programs, they just don't want it. The problem is that
accountability is a big part.
there are a lot of great virtual programs. I'm a little biased about that, but at the same time, because there aren't specific policies in place to keep virtual schools accountable, we're kind of, we're trying to fit the same mold. It'd be easy if you weren't strict like that for a bad virtual program to exist. So I think we are pretty progressive in our state. We have a long way to go, but they are making strides.
There also is at least a 45-minute session on Friday that Candace Dotson and Jason Bailey are doing on doing virtual days. One of those, the DOE will have another room that they'll be in all day. But there'll be one of those is something like, it has to do with the song. I remember when Candace gave me the title, I thought, okay, give a preposition at the end of the phrase, and she said, oh, but I'm taking it off of this song, something about the storm. Writing the storm out, and I thought, okay, you put me out at the end of that. Like, no, it's a song. I'm like, oh, duh, yeah, that's why. It's called Writing the Storm Out. It's about using virtual days and how do you count those? How do you ensure that all of your students are being served that educational content for that time frame when you are not actually physically at the building doing that? We all know, and I think even the people who are making these policies all know that learning doesn't necessarily happen because you're in the four walls of the class. I think they know that too, but there just is still the logistics of how do you ensure that that kid's getting a viable curriculum if they're not really there in front of the instructor. And how do you prove that? Yeah.
Just two things to add. One is with virtual courses, one additional consideration is just NCAA for high school accreditation. So that's something that's really interesting. And one of the ways I tried to use that is to actually take those recommendations and improve our program based on, in other words, say, well, if we want our students to have the ability, our high school athletes with the ability to transfer these courses, or use these courses to meet eligibility requirements for college play, then we need to at least use this as our minimum threshold for the rigor and teacher contact time. The other thing, just as a model, we're using Apex. We don't build our own courses, and we do allow students to come class only one day a week. And otherwise, they're in the media class-based schedule of those courses in the first and second periods. So literally, they don't have to come to school or to be school early with all the appropriate parents and stuff like that. Where you're releasing us because you're doing campus after 6:30 at that time. So if you want to talk about like provider, yeah.
We do the same thing in Centerville. We have an online program called Global Campus. And some of the classes meet first or last period of the day. And if the students are getting 80% or better in the class, they get a seat time waiver and don't have to report to the media center. The NCAA, it's not accreditation, it's approval. Yeah, I always say it wrong. But that's really important if you're building your own courses to get that. Because we build our courses in our virtual high school, the NCAA approved our recovery lab is not. It's the same classes. It's because of the teachers that are available for that. So that's definitely something to consider. If we have an athlete who's wanting to go to college and play, and they need to recover a credit, we have to enroll them in our virtual high school instead of our credit recovery lab program. Still do that comes too, that, so going to the lab and taking class, but that's definitely something you want to consider before you create a course and put a student in it and then go to college and they can't,
And there's kind of a stretched out timeline for that. Like if you apply for your courses under a certain set of expectations and then you get rejected and you make changes based on that, your application has to be, your new program design has to be in place for a year before you can reapply. You just can't continue to sort of iterate and expect them to approve dynamically. It's a very structured process.
Not the most fun.
I have a question. I'm John Sedgwick Anderson. I kind of want to ask this question from the other end of the question. We have some teachers, we're just starting the one-to-one, we're just kind of rolling it out a bit at a time, and we have teachers, as they look for content, they are looking for a way to make their classroom a virtual classroom, in some cases, pockets, whatever, so that they can sit at their computer and do their thing, while technology is the way that they can get away from doing their instruction. And they actively pursue, and even in like our alternative school, our teachers, oh, we are 100% digital. We're using Apex Learning, and then we get a million of these questions. Well, we're having all these discipline problems. Can you lock down this? Can you lock down that? And trying to explain to them, you're using a digital model and a face-to-face class. They're two different things, and they don't quite get that. How do you address, does anybody else have that problem first? And secondly, how do you address it short of going in with a stick and
We had a program, still kind of use it somewhat, and I'm thinking of some teachers that Michelle works with regularly, who are of that mindset, that really, as the instructor for this class, really, in my own personal mind, what you're doing is you are going in there managing behavior, and you're letting an education come from a computer. And it's this program that I'll not say what it is, because it's important, and still kind of use it, but it's this program that I would guess is kind of, I don't know what Apex is, because I'm not looking into it, but it's I'm sorry? What is it, rhyme with? Rhymes with tomato.
You can talk bad about it.
Rhymes with sound. There are teachers who think that same way. That okay, well this content comes from this computer. Well, it's time. It's time, and really what it is retirement. Because those teachers, a lot of them, you're not going to get.
You're worried about saying the word Play-Doh on camera, but you're going to say
That's
that.
Those teachers who think that way are going to be very difficult to sway them to the idea of a virtual classroom, because oftentimes a virtual classroom is much more difficult than a face-to-face classroom. I would say not even oftentimes, all the time. I've taught in both ways myself, and I know that it takes more work to be a virtual teacher than it does. I mean, to be a real virtual teacher in the authentic way that a virtual instructor should be, as far as participating in the discussion, doing all those things that a virtual educator should be. It's going to take a lot to convince that person.
But to be
by the way,
fair,
you're going to have to work hard.
to be fair though, I mean, professional development, I've seen virtually, no professional development a lot of times in these situations. When one-to-one comes in, it's just like.
You're in the wrong school. You're in the wrong school. If you've only seen that way.
Well, yeah, but that is more likely happening than not in a lot of places.
Yes, you're right. Just like with technology, hey, we're going one-to-one. Everybody just think you're
We'll send teachers by the hundreds to reading workshops. But we send them almost never to technology professional development.
Right.
Integrating in the classroom.
For the most part, you're right. Yep. Unless you have a school district that is.
So they make up their own paradigm of what this looks like.
You're right. They do.
No
I would say for the most part, because schools do have that concept.
You guys do a better job because you actually, when you bring them in, you have a lot of professional development that you do.
We are blessed in that our administration puts a extremely high priority, the priority is professional development, so that the curriculum is the focus. And all of this other stuff is all just how you get the curriculum delivered. And technology, luckily our senior level administrator believes that technology is the way you do that, and you can't do that technology piece without professional development so people know how to do it. We're very blessed in that, but you are right. For the most part, yeah, that is what the environment is. Just kind of say, okay, now we have a virtual programming, or we have here's a way to do a blended class. Here it is, go ahead, I'll show you the how-to, but we stop at the how-to instead of the pedagogy behind how do you run a virtual classroom or a blended classroom. You were saying about?
Yeah, to John's comment.
Name and school.
Kelly Morgan, Southeastern School. We've had a lot of luck getting our teachers to see it. So seeing is believing, even if it's just taking our junior high teachers who will be rolling out next year into an intermediate classroom where they're already doing that, and just a half-day PD, a split sub, bring one group in the morning, one group in the afternoon. But once they see
a mix. We have some teachers who, they actively want that model. And we have other teachers that aren't aware it's a bad model. They just say, oh, this is there, this thing is here, we can do this, and they think that's the right thing to do. So it's a combination. It's not, I don't want to say all of our teachers just follow it, because that's not true at all.
Right.
There are some that wish that were true, and there were some that just don't know any better. And to your point, we, the technology people, and even the curriculum people, in some of those cases, that would just roll out, and they said, oh, by the way, here's what they're doing. When we start getting these calls, that's when we find out that it's an online class, and they're going to confident, well, okay, now we're halfway through, we didn't even know you're doing that, and so now what do we do? So there's a mix there. I don't want to be totally negative.
Another school district that I think, the Douglasville schools, they're just doing a really incredible job, I think, with all this. Sounds like you guys are very similar to what you're doing with the alignment. We went to their iPad Palooza Summer Humanity Conference, and one thing that I noticed, and I commented, Andy, their tech director, is that everyone speaks the same language there. So you've got the curriculum people, the tech people, the coaches, the instructional coaches, the teachers, they're all speaking the same language because they're in alignment. And they're one-to-one, they're doing Canvas, they're doing blended learning, they're doing the virtual days. They're just a really good district as a model, I think, too, along with a lot of others here. So I know they have a presentation today, but they're one to do that as well. Because they do have that, and they do a really good job of PD and badging, and it's really progressive things there. So.
I didn't hear from Andy or anybody else.
Chrissy usually comes,
yeah.
So I emailed her yesterday, and she said she's been out of her buildings too much recently, so she couldn't come today.
Did you say Noblesville?
Noblesville, yeah.
Noblesville schools,
Yes.
yeah. Chrissy Stephan, their tech coach, high school, and then Andy Stockheimer is their tech coach.
Yeah, they have some cool PD models.
Yeah, that's really good. Which leads us to the next topic, which is blended and flipped PD. So let's talk a little bit about how you are delivering professional development in a non-traditional way, which hopefully should model what we want to have happen in our regular classroom as well.
So we do ours through our LMS through Canvas, so everything is built in there, and then our professional development morning meetings are optional, and they usually have a task that they have to do each month, and that goes towards what we want them to learn to help and develop students. So, create that, and then if they want to come in to those morning meetings, they can get the one-on-one time, and then if not, they can do it on their own time and use their morning time for something else. It's been really successful in getting teachers to feel comfortable inside of Canvas, and it also lets them see the student view, because then they know what they're asking their students to do and what they can do within Canvas. So it's been good on both sides.
I let you this morning before I came here. At our high school, so in Davis, we have the administrative team kind of developed this really cool blended model for PD, and I lead a class every 9 weeks, but it's completely led. I'm the only person at the district level that leads the class there. It's completely led by the teachers. The topics, the classes are developed by the teachers, and they have set aside 2 mornings every week that are designated PD time, so they don't schedule other meetings, but they are encouraged to do a blended model, and all of the courses are blended. So, and that can look however the teacher who's leading the course wants it to be. So, for instance, in mine, I'm doing like this Chromebook class section. And on Wednesday mornings, it's their online piece. They can do it anytime during the week, but that's when they have time set aside to work on it. And it's an online PD portion, asynchronous. They do it on their own time. They have some sort of task, based on how you would know the student participated, like how you know their students. You ask them to do something with the content, and then we'll meet face to face to take it deeper. So thinking about flips, if there's something that I'm able to use my time with them to really dig in, try things out instead of doing a presentation, and that's safe for the online piece, and it's been really powerful And the participation is great because they sign up. So we have like 8 or 9 options right now. Every quarter, every teacher in the building signs up for whatever class they want. And the topics are not designated. You need a class or something you're passionate about. And so we have things that if you were to say, if I were to go in and be expected to lead these topics or lead this PD charge for standards-based grading and 20% time and do Chrome and Google Drive and all of that, like all of that, PBL is one of the topics. There's some really like intense topics that if I were tasked with leading PD on it, I would be very intimidated, but we have all of these initiatives going on in the building because it's something that the teacher was excited about, and we're doing a blended PD. So that's been a really cool model, and having a lot of fun. It's been really successful. They also do 1 to 9 weeks, they'll do like a TED Ed type video where they take their learning and they create a TED Ed inspired video, and they have their own channel where all of those are posted as well. It's fun.
How do you keep count of those?
We keep attendance for PGP points. So for me, it's I do a lot of online PD with our virtual school anyway, because we have teachers from all over the state. But so yesterday is a sign we were looking at apps, and then they all had to contribute to a collaborative slides presentation sharing the apps and how they want to use them. So they get participation for attending when they completed that. And we have a spreadsheet that the office sends out, so we fill that in, and then it's for the face-to-face, seat time, physical presence, you get the points, and then the online.
We're using Google Classroom, and that ends up being a twofer because they're learning what it looks like from the student side, so it makes them better Google Classroom teachers. And they're also getting the PD that way. And we've even added some assignments for things like that are not related to technology or what we're doing in the classroom. But everybody has to watch the board and packaging video. So why not assign that in the classroom, and then you can see, and you've got record that everybody's done it. And it saved us a lot of time, and they can do it at their leisure. It's not, we used to take, for instance, with that one, everybody go to the auditorium or the cafeteria, and we have the screen, and they play the video, and then they sign off that they saw it, and it was kind of a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they can do it on their own time, and
Waste of time on those.
they can waste their own time. But also, we're using this program called Safe Schools, which is free, and that means that they, at the very least, they don't listen to the video, but they do have to play it. They can't fast forward through it, and then they have to take a quiz at the end. So you've seen bloodborne pathogens 600 times, you know what the answers are. You don't necessarily have to listen, but you're fulfilling your requirements. We've done that a lot. In Google Classroom, very good. Music.
Okay. At my school, this is my first year in technology integration out of classroom, but one of my biggest sort of pet peeves I always had with professional development is in the classroom, as a teacher, I was expected to differentiate, do all these exciting, great things with my students. But then when I went to my training, I sat there and I listened, and it was so boring. And so it is like my world goal to transition and change professional development for better. One of the things I did this year, and I shared it on the document, I know Ben Davis used it, and another school.
They loved it.
Some other schools have used it. But basically, the idea is they do a task, and then, so for mine, it was Google Drive. So their group did a task, and then they got to pick the card. And so during the professional development, I'm running around giving cards to groups as they do it. And at the end of the task, they've done everything I needed them to do. They know how to access and draw in Google Drawings, for example. They can share a document and collaborate. They've proven that they can do all these things, and then at the end, the group with the best poker hand wins a prize. And so, the more tasks they do, the
the more cards they get. And so, and I've shared it on the document. But anyways, any ways to gamify, we are using Canvas, and we do have a lot of curriculum online. And I know I've seen Noblesville's with the badging, but I would like to start doing badging. So I know with the external ask, there's a few different badge systems on Canvas. So if anybody has like ideas of which one, like we use this one, which is great, I would like that. Yes.
Canva Badge is free. I don't like to use it as Megan Nolan, IUI online design. But, so it's free through them. There's another one that's paid. But I like to create them in Credly. It's a little bit easier and a little more visual, and I think they're prettier. And Canva Badge is pretty hard to create in, but then delivering them to the LCI and the RLMS is awesome. So that's what I recommend. If you have Canvas, I don't know about it yet. Yeah, got it. I'll put it in the document.
I remember when we first got email from Browser, the way that standing up in front of people and yakking at them is not the way we look at our teachers instructionally and tell them to teach their kids. So I think we need to stand back and think about how we would provide instruction to our students, which are teachers, adults. We're no different than our kids in that we don't want to be yacked at for half hour, 45 minutes. So what I would do is, it wasn't as creative as the poker thing, but back in 90-something, when we first got email, I would have someone create a Word document and bold the top and do some things in the Word document and attach it to an email and send it back to me. And in doing so, I knew they could log into our network because they couldn't do those things if they weren't. They could log into the computer, they could log into the network, they could open an email, they could attach it to it, and I didn't let them push reply. They had to create a brand new email, but my email address. So I had them do all those things, and I didn't ever have to get in front of them. They had to actually do it themselves and be active in this process of making something. And then when they got done, I was able to go down the list and check off the things that they could do according to maybe a checklist or a rubric. They could do all of those things, and I knew that they had the skills that they needed to do what they needed to do. And the same thing with the Google thing that Michelle and I did. When Michelle was leading, I was able to participate with the Google Chrome, Google Drive poker, and doing that. So it was very effective that way. Yeah.
Kind of go with this poker thing, like kind of also came up with like a game of golf for like cards also that you could use with kids in case you have kids. The poker thing may not be great, but there's something I'm going to do next week is like with Spiros. A lot of teachers in my school haven't seen Spiros yet, but they're going to be doing some things with Spiros. They're going to be like each task they actually get to play a golf. I'm going to have like golf holes set up like on the floor, and then they're going to play golf with the Spiro and try to get it to the top spot. Record their number of strokes, and then because we have like 45 minutes every Wednesday morning, and so they're going to have like a few tasks to do, and then whoever has the lowest score in golf, they're going to get a prize. And so I think it's going to be a lot more. I don't know. There probably will be some people that don't even finish, but I think kind of like gamifying it and not just standing up and preaching in front of everybody is definitely the way to go. Sure.
Yeah, Kim.
One thing they do at Schumacher that I think is really great at the high school is they give teachers choice on early release day. They don't do it for every early release day, but they have like the same content and it's delivered and you choose. You want to do it online, so it's like they can do it in their own mess. They want to do it in more of a lecture style. They want to do it more in a workshop style. So they get their choice, and then they have people, teachers out leading that, and have their tech coach build it in Canvas or their build it. And then there's always an exit ticket that they have to fill out in a Google form so that they have accountability. And I just thought that was a really neat model too, because it gave the teacher choice. You're still going to get the same content, but you choose how you want to learn that. And I thought that was really neat.
With kids like choice, so do adults. I think that's why the PD program at Benedict's High School has worked so well. Teachers can choose what they want to come to, so they get what they need rather than what administrators think they need. Yeah.
Sarah Martin, High School Corporation. I had a question for anybody that's a big school corporation. How do you reach everyone? Because we've got
20 buildings, and to be able to offer enough professional development and see everyone enough is difficult. And I know we're starting to do Flip and Blend and PD and all that stuff, but how do we?
We use Flip and Blended, but I have a program called Speedy PD, which is just, all it is a video showing you how you could use this curricularly in like 3 minutes, 4 minutes. We do that, but also we've got a team of about 42 or 43 educators who are tech educators who provide professional development locally in the buildings. We meet once a month. We actually started meeting virtually. We meet twice a year face to face, but then once a month we meet using Adobe Connect at like 8 o'clock at night. And then Michelle and I and one other person on our e-learning team, we run those meetings and really kind of, it's train the trainer that way. And we meet for an hour, and then they take that information and they go to their district or their buildings and they provide professional development face to face that way or virtually that way. And if they don't want to do a flip model or put something on Learning Management System or Google Doc or something like that, however they want to do that.
And how did you recruit those teachers?
Principals and the e-learning coordinator is the person. The two of them work together to pick a teacher at the building.
And are they compensated or anything?
Yeah, they get about $1,500 a year in order to do that professional development. And there are some requirements. We're actually in the process right now of kind of revamping that program because politics comes into play as far as who's chosen.
Right.
And we don't oftentimes have the major choice there. So a teacher is chosen because of who they are and not because of what they know or can do. And so that we're kind of changing some of those types of things because we want them to be more accountable, especially because they're being paid, and putting people who are a lot better at that job in those positions. But that's kind of how we get professional development, educational technology, professional development done on a wide scale. But there's only 3 of us for our 11, 12, 15, 16 schools, buildings. Yeah.
I've mentioned this before because 21 buildings in me for a long time. And so besides doing the tutorials and the videos with tutorials and all that, I started doing a webinar every hour, the same webinar every hour for 20 minutes, or 15 minutes, depending, advertised that way. And I found that they liked that versus the videos a lot of times because they could stop and talk to me or chat and do something.
We have IIB time built in each morning for elementary during every day for elementary and middle schools first in the morning, and then high schools get 1 hour a week every day. Utilize, but it's not always technology. But what we find is there's ways for us trying to establish those buildings to do that, then it's hard to reach everyone in a timely manner. And we've done the virtual Fridays, actually tomorrow, so we'll do a 7:15 session, 8:15 session, and allow them to connect with us so that it's more like a webinar.
What tool do you use?
We use AnyMeet.
AnyMeet?
Yeah, but we had some sound issues. I mean, it sounds like almost anything you use, you're gonna have sound issues somewhere. You know.
We don't have. This is a paid
You
program.
get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for.
Right.
Adobe Connect is about $1,500 a year
Yeah,
for.
we have access to that.
So Adobe Connect. Why don't you using that?
We had similar issues originally, and
Oh,
we
yeah.
just kind of came around to that, like we've had it for several years now. We do utilize it for classroom, for distant learning classrooms, you know, the middle school students taking a class with the high school, but, yeah, we're on that.
We have a science teacher, Rick Roslin, who teaches science to our elementary students district-wide using Adobe Connect. And he'll sit in one building and give his lesson, and then he records the lesson, and then he'll physically go to the different classrooms for that lesson. But then also he records it, and other teachers can either participate live if he's there, or if they're available, or they can watch the recording, and then when he comes to their building, he then is physically there to be able to do that piece. So it's kind of the flipped learning model, but you can either do it live or you can do it video and watch it, time shift it some way that way too. But we use Adobe Connect for our iTech educator meetings at 8 to 9. But then there are like special eds using it to do professional development with their directors and assistant directors for their special ed teachers. So they use it that way as well. So there are lots of people who are using it, and it's
relatively inexpensive for 5 meeting rooms, and then you can have up to 500 people in each of those meeting rooms, and those are all concurrent users potentially, but we've not really needed more than our 5 right now. We've had it for probably 2 years, over 2 years maybe. It has worked really well for us. And you can use it on, some people use it on their phones, connect with their phones or tablets or computers, works on Chromebooks, it's all web-based.
I was going back to how you have PD set up or people in place to run that. We're similar to you, except we call them e-coaches in our buildings, and we have one for each major discipline, which is nice because I know going to PD, a lot of times it was, you want to know how it's going to work for your content. So they're able to take whatever bigger concept and kind of pare it down for their content and then share that with their department, which makes it really nice. But we have a similar setup to them. So we have what they call an EIS in each building, and then e-coaches that are kind of under them. And we do a stipend for the e-coaches. But that's worked so well in our secondary schools that they're now implementing that this next year in our elementary schools. So we're going to be getting e-coaches there as well.
Difficult to find money to set aside, and before you do that, you have to have a champion who can make that decision to find or to decide that that's important. Yeah. Then they'll find the money. Yes. Yeah, then they'll find the money to allocate for those e-learning coaches, whatever that may be, through our classroom teachers, who can then. If you don't have an environment of professional development in your district, it's difficult to get stuff done like that. Who else? Anything else about flip learning or blended PD?
I forgot.
Yep.
Let's try this again. Okay, just a quick comment. When you are moving, so like we're talking about webinars and stuff, one thing you have to keep in mind is I think moving my instruction, my PD online made me a better professional developer because it's way too easy for me to be face-to-face with a group and pull a presentation and talk to them. When you are moving it online, you have to really think, okay, what's keeping someone from, logging in and walking away? So you have to make it interactive. You have to make it meaningful. It's a lot harder, but you walk away, and I've found that I get better participation, better products out of my online PD because it's made me better at my face-to-face PD because of that. So just keep it in mind. If you think webinar and you think, oh, I'm going to upload a PowerPoint and talk, there's no way for you to know whether people are listening or gaining anything.
That's one of the major reasons why we took our Active Educator meetings offline, because 3 of us found that we were much more productive in what we did when we did it offline. Even when we take in Adobe Connect, you can break off into the breakout rooms, and we would intentionally plan to have them go off in the breakout rooms and have them talk and work and discuss, work on a product in a Google document or something like that, then come back, 15 minutes later after they've worked. We were much more productive in that hour than we were when we took an hour and everybody was face-to-face. Plus, it was much more convenient for all of those ITech educators to do it then than to do it right after school when they've got whatever else is going on at 8 o'clock. It was much more convenient for all. We got better participation, we got better attendance, all of those types of things were better when we did it.
And it's easier for everyone to participate too. Like, I know I'm always that person that always has something to say, and I'm sure like half of you behind you are rolling your eyes like that, Michelle, stop talking. Or in front of you. But in an online format where you have the chat feature, more people, it's okay for me to talk the whole time and chat the whole time or share ideas without that stigma related to it. And everyone can be talking, participating at the same time. You just get more done.
There's also the expectation that everyone's going to participate. When you're sitting in a meeting, it's easy to be invisible, even though you're visually looking at each other. It's easy to not make eye contact. But when you're in an online blended flip, or not flip, you're in a virtual meeting and it is live, the expectation, or if it's not live, actually, if there's an expectation by the leader that everyone's going to participate and that's a requirement for being a part of this, you're not just going to be a lurker. That expectation has to be set, but once it is, you've got a whole lot of people who are participating. And that's also what we've found with our students. That when you're in an online class, part of the requirement is you have to participate in discussions, you have to post this many times. You require that, then you've got these quiet people who are not really going to speak out in a group, like several of you in this room who have not spoken at all this morning. Maybe we should do this online and get better participation. Not that we've had bad participation or anything, but you have a whole lot better and more participation by more people when it ends up being online, which is why we took ours online. But we also have two that are face-to-face because there's a need for that as well, socially and just good to like know who the people are, because we're still social beings visually, beyond just online. Definitely.
Familiar with Google Apps for Education, what, or do you know, could there be some collection of tools used to accomplish what you're accomplishing with your paid Adobe Connect?
Well, there's certainly Google Hangouts. We're using one today. Google Hangout, Live Hangouts isn't a two-way type situation, but Google Hangouts is one. You can only have 10 people on it live at the same time. You could certainly do something flipped, but we use Google Documents constantly. When we're in our meetings, our agenda is usually in the Google document, and then when we do breakout rooms within Adobe Connect, those breakout rooms usually have a Google document tied to them, or somebody in there creates them, and they collaborate together, and they pull those together in our together meeting. But really, any of that stuff can be done in a free tool. It doesn't really matter. But Adobe Connect provides the visual and the auditory, and you need both. Otherwise, you could just hit anything. It doesn't really matter. You need a synchronous type solution.
Uber Conference is an add-on for Google Docs that allows you to do a phone conference. It creates a free audio conference for people who are in the document. So if it's something smaller group and you're working together, that's an add-on. You have to search for that.
An add-on for which tools?
Docs.
For Docs, Google Docs.
Yeah, and it works really well and it's free.
Uber Conference.
Uber, all one word, yeah.
UBER or EU?
You like the car.
UBER.
UBER.
Carly just mentioned that Canvas has a conference.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we use that for our online, math tutoring. And you can have as many kids in there as you want, you can video.
Sure.
Chat. It's really.
It's learning content as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's actually pretty expensive though, when you start looking at beyond the free version.
Canvas?
The big blue button through Canvas. We're going to be doing that. It's like $200 or $400 for a session.
Really?
Yeah.
If you want to save them.
If you want to save, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's free, yeah, I was saying, we don't pay extra for that. We don't record them.
Yeah, if you
So
want
if
to
you want to record it, just use screencast.
That's what.
I was just
I thought
you don't want to get paid for that. Of course, it's probably some little thing. Well, these drugs.
You said
But yeah, you just use the screencast and it'll record whatever you need. If it goes longer than an hour, too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't. If it goes longer than an hour, don't let it. What else? So we've kind of talked about what your district-wide rollout looks like, and we talked about one-to-one. If anybody has anything additional to that, that's fine. But there were things on the invite that were listed that were kind of onesie-twosie type things that I didn't add to this agenda because I knew that there wasn't a large-scale interest in it. What other questions can we open up for the next 15 minutes before we adjourn? That we can talk about that would be helpful. Yes.
Anybody using Lightspeed?
We will be as soon as we're not using microphone against it.
We are. Mark Burgess, we just started using it this week. How's it going? It's going okay. We're having a few little bugs with things not always going through and stuff like that. I think that's more so on network than it is Lightspeed. I mean, the teachers seem to like it. We have teachers using Lightspeed. They're using the back end of the MDM to push apps out to the kids on their own. And then they're using the teacher dashboard. We're first now getting into web zones, and then I have several teachers that start using policies to give the kids access to, like, if the admin to shut off cameras, shut this off, this off.
to give it back to them for a little out there, that type of thing. And that seems to be going well. We only have 1,600 devices. So we see a handful of issues with it every day, but a handful out of 1,600.
Anybody ever tried the, and I just heard about this, I haven't looked into it or tried to use it. Google Classroom has a tool where you can, it's not the, what's that sound thing? But it's not Google Tone, but within Classroom where you push out web pages.
Share Classroom.
Yeah, the extension, you can use that way. If I tried it for Google Classroom, I've not tried it. Or two. Kids have tab too. Kids have tab too. So it pushes
It opens
out.
up another tab on your Chromebook,
Oh, okay.
but then forces that to be the
open one.
open one on your seat. So, I mean, they can always go back.
Push back.
The other. Kids are tendency.
But still, I'm thinking like, we're gonna have Chromebooks in second graders' hands, not one-to-one, but especially third graders' hands. But if you have a website you want your kids to use, you don't have to go link somewhere. You can use Google Tone. Google Tone's really cool. I can see that being something where the principal says, hey, everybody open up your Chromebooks, and then they put it over like a loudspeaker. Magically, the whole entire school is on, has Google Tone, and they all go to the same webpage. But it's a way to manage, but not necessarily manage, but at least make classroom management better, where you can have everybody on the same webpage instead of telling all your kids, go to the Google Doc, click on the link, and go to this website. You can just push a button in Classroom, and everybody's Chromebooks go to that. Or everybody's Chrome browser. Yeah.
What are you doing to have secure testing environments when you're just doing your typical Canvas quizzes or other LMS types of quizzes?
I told teachers to get up and walk
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Proximity monitoring.
Yeah, we have Dino at one of our schools, but at the other schools, where they say, well, how do I know the students are home? Yeah, proximity.
If you to get Canvas,
Yes.
if you can, I know teachers use passwords for their tests, they change every period, so that only that class can get on the test.
They still can make the copy, and there's things they can still do,
Right.
that's what I'm talking
And
about.
timing the tests and those big things, so kids don't have the time to go to other tabs, but walking around and being fingers space. There's a feature, excuse me, it's a data I can sell on cameras where I tell my students, like, it'll say, like, second 2, student log on, and it's 1 or A, whoever wants to make sure she's ready to be at second 4, and then they'll, like, kind of log real quick, the student left quick, a minute, 15 seconds, and then back in 4 minutes and 28 seconds. It is in data, and you have to look through each kid individually, so it's one of those things that I know my teachers enough to say, please don't take your time, looking through every student's quiz log. But if you think a student cheated and you're walking around your room and this kid looks fishy and they got a really good score and you know they don't really know, like that kind of, when you think they cheat, you can go in and ultimately, like, you can play the big brother card, like, I can see everything you do, pull one up, show the kids what it looks like.
We do a lot of,
Quiz log. It's called the quiz log, we try to get to turn it on as a flag, it's a feature flag.
we do, and by we, I mean Michelle, does some, she did a poster session at ISTE called Make Your Test on Google. Make a better test.
Right.
And teachers like, oh,
Yeah.
well, it's because it needs more work. Okay, well, that's kind of your job.
Yeah.
You know, I know it's easier to make a multiple choice test, but make your assessment more authentic. You know, make it more project based. Make the questions Googleable. My daughter came back with a worksheet, and all I did was write the exact question in there, and I was able to find out where the teacher got all the questions from a website that the teacher found. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you want your kids to learn when all they have to do is Google? Who wouldn't do that? I do it. Like, I don't know. Like, Michelle has this little thing on her desk, and I've taken this onto my mantra. I don't know more than you. I can just Google better than you. And so, if you can Google it, why have to learn it? It's like a telephone number. I don't even know my daughter's telephone number. I have no idea what it is because I have it on my phone. Why do I need to know that? I'm not going to memorize it.
If you're gonna arrest it, then you would need to memorize. Call.
I would say I need my one phone call, but I have to hang it on.
One thing that, now, in a teacher's defense, it was something that you can find even good assessments online. I know that me as a teacher, if I'm looking for something, I'm not gonna create something from scratch. I'm gonna go see what other people are doing and Google it. And when you're talking about online classes or moving a lot of that online, it seems like common sense, but it hadn't occurred to me until I had a student say, yeah, I can just copy paste the first question and find the entire answer sheet, like on Teachers Pay Teachers or whatever. Kids have access to all that too. So that's something that I don't think is, I mean, it's common sense, but it's also, we're so used to Googling to find good resources, even the good stuff, like we have to be able to change if we're going to put it online.
So certainly.
Right, exactly. So something that seems obvious, but it wasn't obvious to me, and it definitely wasn't obvious to our teachers until a student told me they were doing it. And then we started talking about that.
I see this push for standardized assessments not going away, but changing massively because of the way like at the top level is like ISTEP and that standardized test, and things are changing down here to more authentic, realistic type assessments, and it's kind of bubbling up to hopefully eventually the ISTEP test will change, you know, in 20, 10, 15, 20 years to a situation where, well, maybe 30, to a situation where it's much more authentic and it's not, you know, the A, B, C, D choice on each of the questions because anybody can do that. It's what you know, what you do with that knowledge you already have.
The state just has to have money to pay actual people to,
Yes.
to evaluate authentic assessments and not the end of the people to pay $9 an hour.
Yeah.
Grade their written portion.
Just to speak to your question, I just searched the Canvas community. There is something called the Respondus
Yes, I saw that.
lockdown browser.
I wondered if anyone was using that.
It was part of it.
It's a licensing program. And there's another product for common assessments that we use called SchoolNet, which has integrated into it a lockdown feature we can't go out and.
Just respond to what
SchoolNet, it's a Pearson product and it integrates directly with our school.
Just take me at Chromebooks.
Respondus.
We have found a couple of issues with Respondus. One is Chromebooks, because of BYOD, and also because it's locking down the computer, Windows 10 requires an admin override saying, hey, something's trying to take over your computer. A lot of our middle school kids don't have that admin password to override it. So then now the kids can't take the test because they can't get into the lockdown browser. So it's got some issues, which once again, we're going back to, okay, the best way to do this is you need to be moving around, and this is actually going backwards by requiring the computer to take one role.
So those who still have Lightspeed, is anyone utilizing web zones, because that's still a feature? No.
We've used it a little. I mean, we're just sort of getting into it, but it seems to be working for the teachers that have tried it out.
What are your devices?
We're one-to-one iPads.
And your iPads are using the proxy.
Our iPads are proxied all the time. The kids do have to authenticate in order to use the web zone portion of stuff, so they don't authenticate. But if the teacher requires them to, they circulate to make sure that they're locked in when they do stuff.
There was one iPad when we just are rolling out this year AirServer software, just installed on the teacher's laptop. And then it's a mirrored software, so the students have to actually mirror their iPad through AirPlay, and it shows up on the teacher's screen. I earlier had somebody trying to AirPlay to my screen, and they put in a code, and then the teacher can actually watch in real time what the students are doing on their iPads. And so they can watch and see if they get out and go somewhere else or do whatever. So they can't stop it, but they can see it, and you can also screen record what's going on in iPad. So if somebody's doing something and you need proof later that it was done, you can screen record that device and what's happening. It's like $8 a license, and the license is a one-time buy. You get it forever. You buy it for the computer, and then you can connect as many devices to it as you want. Your network will be the only thing that limits how many devices you connect at one time. We do 6 to 8 per classroom pretty reliably on our network, which is the best out there. Their website says some schools do up to 20 per computer. They get covered. Like that. And then we have Casper Suite, which is for our MDM, and they have an app called Casper Focus, where a teacher can lock the class iPads into a specific app or a specific website, and then they have control over locking and unlocking individual students to the whole class.
Anything else for the good of the cause? All right. It's been a fantastic meeting this morning, and I'm excited to go back and look at the notes and see what you all put. Thanks again to Jeff Downs and Arts React for providing breakfast for us. Appreciate that. Our next meeting will be January, February timeframe. I don't think I can set a date for that. But we'll set a date with Irvington and get directions and all that stuff. Yeah, we can call it. You what? I'll be at MTC in January, yeah. But we'll set that date at some point. We'll send it out to the team list. If you're not a part of the Google Plus group for teams, make sure that you send an email. I think there's information here. You're actually connected with Tony Spelling, who's here, who will add you to that group. We talked about making that an open public group, but I don't want it to be something that somebody outside our group gets a hold of and gets a bunch of spam coming through and all that stuff. I think I really like it. It's not necessarily private because anybody can be part of it, but I don't want to make it public and then have anybody get in there and then you got that problem. So if you want to be a part of that, contact Tony and get this information. Thanks for coming today. Have a safe trip home. See you guys.